mile for 7. Henceforth, no automaker has attempted to make a production car V14. So for now, if you want to hear the
All right, Chafee debate.
To slavery, rape, torture, abuse, and murder.
Let me see if they uploaded it to their channel. What's his Jack Higgs? You know, they haven't uploaded it to their channel.
And if you think that's a sham, then you must be a psychopath.
A lot of people are going to it for nutritional reasons and being told that this is the healthiest diet that they should eat because it's harmful.
Are they treated well in a slaughterhouse?
Yeah, there's no nice way to kill anything.
How can you justify, again, I want to ask this question, enslaving innocent animals, chopping their head off inside of slaughterhouses, raping them, torturing them? How can you justify that? How do you justify forcibly breeding animals into existence, enslaving them, and then sending them to a slaughterhouse at a fraction of their natural lifespan?
Who is eating more food? Do you know the answer or not?
Why does it matter?
What does it matter?
I'm asking you a question. This is a debate, and I'm asking you a question, and you failed to answer pretty much any of our questions.
If a vegan diet did sustain optimally in the best way, say if it had the vitamin B12 at an active level, would you be a vegan?
So the thing is that the only reason I eat the way I eat is because biologically this is our optimal diet and nutrition. That's what I care about, is optimal health.
And if there was no cruelty or suffering, would you guys eat meat?
How can there not be cruelty or suffering to eat someone's body?
Would you sit on the same table as Anthony and share a meal with him if he was eating a steak and you were eating?
Absolutely not. I will not sit down with a dead murder victim in front of me.
Would you sit down in front of somebody eating a human body?
I'd be curious. I'd be there with the same camera setup I have, and I'd be questioning them.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hamad Chowdhury's Debates, and tonight we've got a very...
Koth Greg responds to 17-year-old who benched 500.
I don't even know if Sam Sulek can lift this much weight. And so are we supposed to sit and applaud? Yay! Let's applaud an underage teenager abusing performance-enhancing drugs.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. There are people who are genetic freaks who might be able to lift that type of weight, but if you look at the history, like there's a long history of weightlifting now, like about 100 years, and we kind of have a good idea of what you can and can't do naturally. When you're seeing a 17-year-old bench 500, you can guarantee with almost 100% certainty that they're on performance-enhancing drugs. That kid didn't look that big, but steroids like stimulate your nervous system. They make your nervous system works much more efficiently. So that kid might be able to bench like maybe 405 naturally, but on gear he could do like 500. So he's definitely strong even without gear, but the chances are that kid's on steroids. The likelihood of a 17-year-old especially being able to lift that kind of weight. Bench is one of those things where you kind of need like dad strength. You like just it's something that happens when you get older. You just wouldn't expect a teenager to be able to lift that kind of weight. Like if I saw a teenager squatting like 600 pounds, like, yeah, I could believe him doing that natty, deadlifting 600 or 700. I can kind of believe that happening naturally, but like with upper body lifts like that, you sort of just need dad strength. You just need to be like older and have been training for a long time and have a lot of upper body muscle mass. And then when you see a teenage kid doing that, so I'd kind of side with Greg here that, yeah, the kid's probably on gear.
And he's going to be putting up 500 pounds on the bench press. I mean, that is truly remarkable. And he's weighing in at only 235 pounds. Imagine, that's over 2.1 times his body.
Okay, he's actually a lot bigger than I thought he was. I thought he was closer to like maybe 190 or 200. So maybe his proportions just make him look smaller, but that's pretty. 235, relatively lean for 17-year-old kid. Like, yeah, he's on gear for sure.
Body weight. Imagine putting up those kind of numbers at only 17 years of age. But here's the thing. The lift, it doesn't count. And so is it really a 500-pound bench press? If you did the lift entirely wrong, you never paused it properly, had your ass off the gym, it wouldn't count in competition? What is the point? Well, I'll tell you the point. It's ego lifting. And so perhaps...
I saw this lift. I don't think his butt lifted off the bench. Maybe it did a little.
His body weight. Imagine putting up those kind of numbers at only...
It's debatable. From this angle, it looks like his butt's on the bench. I think I disagree with Greg. Who cares about a pause? It's a gym lift. It doesn't really matter. I don't even think pausing makes it much more difficult anyway. I would say it's a completed lift. I don't see any clear evidence that his butt left the bench. What's weird is he congratulated that guy,
Finally.
Yeah, he congratulated this lying dipshit Damo who failed his 405 bench press. Like, it was an obvious fail. His ass lifted way off the fucking bench. And he's like, oh, congratulations, Damo. Oh, he did this to beat depression. Oh, what a good job. And he considered that a completed lift. But then, like, he's saying this kid where it's not clear that, where it's not even clear his butt lifted off the bench. He's saying it's a failed lift.
17 years of age, but here's the thing. The lift, it doesn't count. And so as it point, it's ego lifting. And so perhaps it's not quite as dangerous as a guy thinking he can lift a 300-pound woman on his shoulders and walk out onto a diving board. Oh, that's not a big deal. Clearly, that is more dangerous. But this, also very dangerous. And so the guy does have a brain. He does understand just how dangerous it is. And he has...
Yeah, his butt didn't lift off the bench. That's a completed lift.
3 spotters. 1 giving him a lift off, and on either side, a person to help get up the weight. You never know when you're pushing this much weight. Perhaps you tear a pec, you can't lift the weight up, it slips. You don't want to get injured. And so after the lift off, he lowers the weight, gets a little bounce off the chest, and gets stuck about 2/3 of the way up. He then struggles to squeeze out the weight, and he eventually gets it. This lift is extremely dangerous, and I'm going to address the elephant in the room right now. There's no way that this guy is natural. And so all we have is a juiced up 17-year-old kid, younger than Sam Sulek, bench pressing 500 pounds. I don't even know if Sam Sulek can lift this much weight. And so are we supposed to sit and applaud? Yay! Let's applaud an underage teenager abusing performance-enhancing drugs. Are we supposed to say, this is amazing? And you might be asking, well, how do you know he's abusing it? If you use any, it's abuse. 17 years of age. What's next? Next year, 16? I literally just did a video on a guy. He bench pressed 570 pounds with Larry wheels. The guy was 19. He said his PR at 18 was 520. Well, here we got a guy 500 pounds at 17. Where does it stop? Is it going to be 500 pounds next time at 16? And then 500 pounds at 15? Oh, I know, 400 pounds at 12. People, we need to stop using drugs so young, 17 years of age. And you think you just started? To get to a 500-pound bench press at 17 when you're only 235 pounds, you're not starting last week. Now that that's out of the way, what do you think of all this? Is this something we should be aspiring to? Did he really need to hit 500 pounds on this day? Could he have not waited another month? Perhaps in another month, he gets a little bit stronger. He can then keep his butt on the bench, perhaps pause.
His butt was on the bench. He's been playing the video over and over again. You can see his ass didn't leave the bench.
The weight. Maybe it's going to take him 3 months, perhaps even 6 months. Heaven forbid, it might take him 5 more years, but do it 100% natural. Why do we think we need to do everything by yesterday? Can't we just let things happen? Train harder than last time, progressive overload, use natural supplements, and remember.
Yeah, natural supplements. Like, is he gonna fucking, is this the plug for his Turk builder?
At 17, you don't even need to use my natural supplements.
I knew it. Yeah, there we go. There's the plug for Turk builder.
You're too young. GO2 Max, Turk builder, Ecti builder. You're too young. You do it natural. Save this for when you're older. And so it's one thing for a teenager to be using natural supplements, creatine and so on, of which you don't even need. But it's another thing to be abusing performance-enhancing drugs. Not to mention, you notice those wraps around his elbows? That helps him about 20 pounds. And so why are we using artificial means to help him get up the weight? You're 17. Are your joints already so bad that you needed wraps to get the weight up?
So there are reasons to use wraps. Certain powerlifting federations allow the use of wraps around the elbows. So if you can use that advantage, why wouldn't you take it? If you're trying to isolate your pecs specifically, you may have an interest in using wraps. It might make the lift a bit more pec dominant. It might. And yeah, if you're lifting very heavy weights and you have joint problems, using wraps can help. Like, I have a broken elbow, and I tore my tricep a while ago. It still hasn't completely healed. So I use a wrap on my right arm just because I can't lift otherwise. But, like, dude, he just wanted to bench 500. It's not a big fucking deal.
I mean, what's next? Is the spotter then going to lift the weight up? Hey, you got it. And so, yeah, again, he's pumped.
Yeah, dude, using lifting support is not the same thing as having a spotter lift the weight up. Like, if you're okay with somebody using a lifting belt for a deadlift, I don't know why it's such a big deal to use elbow wraps on a bench. Like, what difference does it make?
He's excited. He wanted to bench press 500 pounds. Yeah, I've been there, done that. I wasn't doing it at 17, and I, in fact, have bench pressed more than 500 pounds. But it took me till I was in my 30s. in my 30s. When I was 17, I wasn't even benching 300. I could bench 293 pounds. That was my one rep max at 17. Weighed 140 some odd pounds. Could I bench press 500 at 17? No, I couldn't have. Even with steroids, I couldn't have. So clearly he has better genetics than me. But why are we pushing to get these numbers so fast? Now that he's bench pressed 500 pounds, you realize he's going to want to get 600. You think he's going to be satisfied? Life goals achieved. New fear unlocked. I'll never hit 600. So what am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to abuse even more steroids. I saw Larry Wheels' video. He did 570 pounds. He's 19. Probably going to hit 600 pounds.
That kid does not look 19. That looks like a fucking 40-year-old man. That's crazy. Let me see the Larry video. $19-year-old grip. 600 pounds, 19 years old.
Come on, Larry.
Yeah, that's the 19-year-old. Holy fuck, bro. You can tell by the gynecomastia, too. Yeah, this 19-year-old kid's taking a lot of fucking steroids. Holy shit, bro. Yeah, that does not look like a 19-year-old. That looks like a guy in his mid-30s. Damn, dude. That is whack.
There you go. There you go. Let's do it, Anthony.
Oh yeah, the way Greg is going on about this, I sense jealousy.
Yep. Yep. Brace. Yeah. Yep.
Wait, so how much is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that'd be 495. That's like 520 or something. Yeah, 520.
Come on, let's see it. Joe, get over there, please. Come on. Thank you. All right. Right off. Yep. Right.
Yeah, that is just fucking crazy. I wonder how much I could get up to if I started taking steroids. Maybe I could bench 600
pounds before he turns 20. And so what this guy going to think? I need 600 pounds at age 18. I don't care how good you are, you're going to want to be better. You really think Chris Bumstead doesn't want to improve on his Mr. Olympia finishing each and every year? You think he wants to compete next year looking worse than this year? And so you think this 17-year-old's going to go to the gym next week, next month, next year, and think, oh, I'd be happy with 400. I've already hit 500. Now I just want to settle down, retire, and bench press 400 pounds. I'm telling you, I can guarantee it. You're going to be disappointed if you don't continue to improve. And so the stronger and quicker you get that strength, the more you're going to need it. It becomes very difficult to motivate yourself to go to the gym when you're getting weaker. And so let's assume he's on a 3 or 4 month cycle. I don't know what he is, but pretend you're in his shoes. You're on a 3 or 4 month cycle, and at the end of this cycle, you peak and you hit 400 pounds. Then what are you supposed to do now? You're supposed to come off and or go on HRT. I don't know what you're going to do. You're going to talk over this with your doctor, right? Remember, never ever break the law and never use steroids or any performance-enhancing drug without the advice and consent from your doctor. And I'm not your freaking doctor. And so now that you're off cycle, you've removed whatever you're taking. I don't know what it is. It could be anything. Do you really think you're going to continue to improve right now? What do you think is going to happen? That 500-pound bench is going to be 490 next week, 480 the week after, and it's going to plummet. You'll be lucky to hit 400 pounds several months from now. And then what do you think is going to happen? You're going to say, I can't wait to go back on. I can't handle it. I don't like only bench pressing 400. And that's if you go off. Half the people aren't going off. They're just going to lower their dose a bit. I can't handle it. I was benching 500. Now I'm only at 450. This sucks. I want up my doses. Where's the trend? Where's the trend, boys? I needs it. And so you look at your watch. It's trend o'clock. Time to go harder than last time. And you're going to go on it. And eventually you bench 550. Then what do you think happens then? You go off and your bench goes down to, oh my goodness, it's only 500 now. I need it again. And so this cycle repeats itself cycle after cycle, year after year, until eventually you get your blood work done and it's, oh my God, what have I done to myself? My cholesterol, my liver, my kidneys, my heart. You can kid yourself, fool yourself and say, oh, it won't happen to me. But of course, eventually you're going to pay the price. And so my advice, stay natural. Are we taking performance-enhancing drugs? Well, I know why. To impress people, to be better than everyone else, to take a shortcut. But I'm telling you, there are no actual shortcuts. The damage you're doing to your body, it's irreversible. What are these kids eating nowadays that they're benching?
You know, he says this while we all know the only reason his YouTube channel is at the size it is because he abused steroids. The only reason anybody watches Chris Bumstead is because they abuse steroids. All of these, like, celebrities, all of these, like, fitness influencers, they have the money and success and everything. Sam Sulek. The only reason people watch them is because they abuse steroids. And, like, when you're talking about being able to make a six-figure income, like, I don't know how much money Sam's making, but it's a lot. I would guess he's probably making like at least probably 200K from his YouTube channel, and that's like not including sponsorships and shit. Like, that's a lot of fucking money. And when there's that sort of prospect of being able to just work out, do what you really enjoy doing just by taking steroids, I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to tell people don't ever take steroids. Just work a normal job you hate, and, you know, be a normal everyday fucking jerk off. You know what I mean?
500 pounds. Well, it's certainly not what they're eating, it's what they're swallowing and or injecting. The usual trend bologna sandwiches. And I was happy about hitting 380 pounds today. There goes that. And so you see, this is the problem. People are comparing themselves to other people. We now see a 17-year-old bench pressing 500 pounds. And so when we only bench press 380 pounds, oh my goodness, I suck. And so imagine if you're a 17-year-old out there and you bench press 380 pounds, this guy benches 500. You're suddenly thinking, wow, I'm not really that good. When 20 years ago, you would have never heard of a 500-pound bench. And if you're benching 380, especially at 17, you would have been a freak, an amazing anomaly that no one would have ever heard of. 380 pounds, you're 17. No one's doing this. You're a beast, LOL. I'm at 275 pounds. And so imagine everyone's comparing themselves to everyone else. 275 pounds, man, 380, 500, you're only at 275. I'm telling you, when I could bench press 293 pounds at 17, I thought I was the strongest kid in the world, and perhaps I was for my body weight. I did in fact lift more than the world record in the bench press for my age at that time, but it pales in comparison to what these guys are lifting now. Perhaps there wasn't the available of performance-enhancing drugs back then it is today. Today you can Google it, type it, everyone knows about it. Back in my day, there wasn't even Google. Think about it. If you've done 380 properly with a pause, it's way more impressive than this. That's a horrible take. He could pause 380 for reps easily. And so here's the point. Why didn't he? Why did he put 380 pounds, pause the weight, lift it up with great lifting technique, and do so while being 100% natural? Imagine this, kid.
Hey, fuck you. Being a normal jerk off is great.
I mean, it's fine. A lot of people don't want that life, though. So if you have big dreams but bad genes, like, you know, the idea that steroids is a bad idea blanketly, I don't think you can really make that argument. Thanks for the donation, though. Forgot my namification.
Post the same video, 380 paused, 100% natty. Which is more impressive? 380 natural with proper lifting form that actually counts, way more impressive. 500 with sloppy form while using performance-enhancing drugs, of which we have no idea how much it helped him. We also have no idea how many years it takes off his life. To me, that is not okay. And so, yeah, I get it. Everyone has the right to do whatever they want to do. Well, for me, I don't agree with that. When you're 17, underage, perhaps you're breaking the law. I don't know what country's from. To me, it's not okay. And so for me to stand up and say, this is not okay, I have the right to do that. Perhaps you say, oh, Coach Greg, you be quiet. He can do whatever he wants. Yeah, well, if he can, I can say, I don't agree with this. Elbow wraps and the biggest bounce I've ever seen, definitely not.
That was not the biggest bounce of all time. That was pretty mild.
Including definitely not natural. Like the video if you liked it, add a comment, remember.
Yeah, so Greg's right. Kid's not natural.
Very special conversation for a long, long argument that's been going on for eons. Vegans versus carnivores. What diet should you have? On the right, we have Dr. Anthony Chafee and Dr. Sanjeev. On the left, we have the vegans, Tash Peterson and Jack Higgs. Straight off the bat, how we're going to start is we're going to start with 60-second rounds. You have to defend the statement and you have to support the statement. And then after that, we'll go into a free roll. Let's go. Veganism is a sham. Defend the statement. 60 seconds.
60 seconds? What?
Oh, well, okay, I'll just say that veganism is far from being a sham. It's literally an ethical stance against the exploitation of sentient beings, non-human animals. Most people would be against the exploitation and abuse of animals. So literally vegans are just people that are putting that into action. How is that a sham? Protecting animals, most people would protect dogs and cats, other animals they care for. We're just extending that to all animals because we don't see a relevant difference to allow us to abuse some, but not others.
Tash?
Yeah, vegans simply don't participate in the animal holocaust, the largest holocaust in history, where trillions of animals are subjected to slavery, rape, torture, abuse, and murder. And if you think that's a sham, then you must be a psychopath.
60 seconds.
So I don't think it's a sham. I think people make these different decisions for very different reasons, very meaningful reasons. I don't think they are trying to scam anybody. I think that their good intentions are being manipulated by others who may have ulterior motives, want to push a product, want to sell something to them, and they become enamored with this ideology because of that. I don't think that caring about animals is a bad thing. I don't think that that's a sham at all. all. I think that, but people go to veganism for many different reasons. A lot of people are going to it for nutritional reasons of being told that this is the healthiest diet, that they should eschew meat because it's harmful. And that's my main point. I don't want everyone to go carnivore. I just think people should understand that meat isn't unhealthy. As a doctor, I care about my patients' health first and foremost, and so I want to make sure that they're eating healthy. And so that's my main thing. I think that people that are going vegan for nutritional reasons have been fooled. I think that there are different sorts of industries that profit by this. Kellogg's and the PepsiCo's of the world, they spend the large majority of money on nutritional research that supports a plant-based diet.
Your 60 seconds is up, dipshit.
Because they know that when they go plant-based, they go processed food, and plant-based, they don't go fruits and vegetables made from their own garden. And I think that that's a major drive at the moment. So I think that is the issue that I have.
60 seconds.
That people do this because they care about animals.
Okay. Well, I'll let you guys just take a free roll.
Yeah. So just kind of like based on what we're discussing there?
Just discuss his points and have any rebuttals.
I mean, yeah, well, yeah, to make it clear, like, veganism isn't a diet. Like, a plant-based diet that's a diet. So veganism is that initial philosophy, is that ethical stance against the exploitation of animals. And I guess I would like to know, would you say that you are against the exploitation of non-human animals?
So the thing is, I think you do vote with your pocketbook, and there are regeneratively raised, grass-fed, finished, no animal therapy.
That is not an answer to his question.
Very well into some of this more, and the animals are just out.
Are they treated well in a slaughterhouse?
Nothing's going to be treated well in a slaughterhouse. However, there's no nice way to kill anything, but there are. Or anyone. But there's
surprised he got that concession from somebody like Chafee.
So there's no nice way to do that. However, you can do it in as instant as possible.
So you would admit that it's unethical to kill someone, especially when there's no reason to be doing that at all? In the case of non-human animals,
you have to qualify that state. You have to give the situation. So the thing is that what is ethical? If you want to go back to the Aristotelian definition of ethics, it's living within one's character. The character of a wolf, what is ethical for a wolf is to be as a wolf is. And so he said that humans is to reason, and our nature has been for millions of years eating meat. We need meat to survive.
Well, I guess you could put it differently. It's like, is it okay to kill someone?
We need meat to survive. Here I am as a vegan of 14 years, still alive. So, yeah, I think that idea that we need meat to survive is bullshit.
For food, if you don't have to be eating them in the first place. Like, is it okay for me to kill you? Is that ethical, knowing that I don't have to? Would you agree with that or not?
So the thing is, though, is that it's not ethical to subject people to substandard nutrition and have their bodies and brains and neurological systems not developed properly. People have billions of people suffering with chronic disease, early dementia, Alzheimer's.
Guess who is suffering from Alzheimer's and neurodegenerative diseases? It's meat eaters. Vegans have a lower risk of neurodegenerative disease.
Cancer, Parkinson's, all these other sorts of things that actually come from an inferior diet.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So the thing is that
I don't know why Jack would agree with that. That isn't a concession you should make. Even assuming a vegan diet is less healthy, that doesn't justify a Holocaust. So would we be okay with holocausting black people or Jews and turning them into hamburgers if it meant we could live a few years longer or prevent chronic disease because, I don't know, black people and Jews have a certain vitamin in them that makes you healthier? Like most people would say no. So this is a good spot where you should just run name the trait.
We in the West, we do have a bit better of a position where we can get nutrition with supplements and other sort of things as well. But that's sort of a privileged position, or other places around the world, and rural parts of Africa and Asia, India, and so on. They don't have that option. So malnutrition is plaguing places like India and Africa.
Yeah, we're referring to people that have.
Yeah, so I don't know why he's talking about malnutrition in places like India or Africa. They're getting malnutrition because they have like huge food insecurity issues, massive poverty. It's not just because they're eating a plant-based diet. It's because of poverty and a lack of access to food, period. Like, a lot of these people are literally just living off of rice, and that's it. Like, that's the only thing they can afford.
Have access to an exclusively plant-based diet. And in this case, if we're talking about veganism, not just a plant-based diet exclusively, if we're talking about veganism, yeah, there would be reason to take a B12 supplement. Now, the reason we would say that is because it is essential. Other than that, you can get your nutrients elsewhere. Maybe vitamin D3, but, we can get it from the sun, depending on where you're around the world, but even then, these are very inexpensive, easy things to be doing. If you have access to a adequately nutritious vegan diet, which you absolutely can thrive on a vegan diet, if it's done well. So I'm going to agree with you and say if it's done poorly, as with any diet, yeah, we shouldn't be recommending that for anyone. But we are recommending a healthy plant-based diet. Knowing that, what justification can you have to send and force animals into slaughterhouses and enslave them their entire life?
He should just be running name the trade at this point, because he just caught him in a possible contradiction. He's saying, it's not nice to kill animals, for one thing. He conceded to that. He said it's like there's no way to kill something humanely or ethically. He then basically dodged the question about whether or not he'd be okay with killing and eating humans for food. So just run name the trait. Why are you even asking him? Do you think it's ethical to do? He's just gonna come up with some bullshit reasoning like, oh, well, we need it for our health or something. Just run name the trait.
I mean, you wouldn't do the same for humans. Can I assume you wouldn't say that it's okay to enslave and send humans into a slaughterhouse? So why are you justifying that, knowing that you can actually thrive on an adequately nutritious vegan diet?
I think I would disagree with the premise that you can thrive on an adequately designed so that. Yeah, so it's not just B12 or missing, it's not just D3, there are many micronutrients. So first of all, carnitine is called a non-essential amino acid, however, that only applies.
Yeah, so he's changing the debate from an ethical debate to a nutritional debate because he knows in an ethical debate he just get fucking wrecked. So instead of, arguing name the trait and whether or not it's ethical to, force people to eat a vegan diet despite it being like possibly lacking in nutrition, and asking ourselves whether or not like there's any circumstance where we'd be okay with, committing murder in a mass holocaust. Now he's just like trying to get Jack into this debate on whether or not you can get vitamin X or vitamin Y. Like, who cares?
70% of the population, fully 1/3 of humanity, cannot make an adequate amount of carnitine. It does not exist in plants. You have to get that from.
So that's not true. 1/3 of the population, that's just totally not true. Most people can produce carnitine just fine.
Meat or supplements, things like that. So that's a very important amino acid that has to do with mitochondrial function in brain and nervous system. So Texas A&M actually showed that this is a major cause of autism because children that don't have adequate supply of carnitine have inadequate mitochondria in their brain. They develop autism. Autism was 1 in 10,000 in 1970.
Oh, I would love to see the data on that. That sounds like absolute bullshit. A major cause of autism is a lack of red meat in the diet? Fuck you. That is a lie.
34, only 22 males. That's a misdevelopment of the brain and the nervous system amounting to permanent detrimental neurological dysfunction, brain damage. And so that, I think, is immoral. That, I think, is unethical.
I love how he's having this debate with this, like, fucking skinny, weak-ass twig of a man next to him, talking about how, oh yeah, you can't get enough nutrition on a vegan diet. Here's this fucking meat eater sitting next to him who looks like he's built like a fucking daffodil. Give me a fucking break.
To subject people to that. So it's not just those nutrients. And the thing is also, it's not just about nutrients. Because my main message to people is that, yes, we want all these nutrients. And yes, you can supplement up to a certain point. But there are a lot of micronutrients that don't necessarily have names for yet and that don't necessarily know that they're essential, that you don't even know.
Oh, that's another bullshit claim. We know all the micronutrients that exist. There's no... there's no like vitamin zeta that we haven't discovered yet that's only in meat. That's just another bullshit lie.
We need to cover. That's first of all. But second of all, plants aren't completely benign. They don't just have nutrients. They have other things, other sorts of defense chemicals. They're living things. They like to stay living things. And so they defend themselves just like animals do. It's just in a different way. They're stationary. They can't run away or fight back. So they have to have different means. They make nearly 1 million different defensive chemicals.
Yeah, so the plant defense chemicals thing, he took that right from Paul Saladino. That's also just bullshit.
To stop animals and insects.
Definitely edible plant foods, not toxic ones.
Sure. So the thing is that inedible ones are so toxic that they'll kill you, or they get very sick very quickly.
I agree with that.
Yeah, Jack is getting sucked into a nutrition debate now when he really should have just stuck to the ethics.
But the ones that are edible, that doesn't mean that they don't have any toxins. It just means we have a better capability and capacity for detoxifying them. But then we cook things, we ferment things, we put them, soak them in lye and all these sorts of things to lower the toxic load.
Certainly, yeah, absolutely.
But that doesn't eliminate them.
James Aspie had a debate with Lee Priest. I saw that he had an interaction with Lee Priest over Instagram. Did he like actually debate him live on like YouTube or something? Oh shit. We gotta watch this at some point. Or is this him just reacting? Yeah, that's just him reacting.
All the way. So I think with cyanogenic glycosides is a major problem around the world. Cassava is the primary caloric source for 750 million people in the tropics. It's the third most important calorie source in all of the tropics. And so these are very poor people that rely on this sort of food. There's a lot of cyanide in there. Even when treated properly and reduces this cyanide load, you can still get sublethal but clinically significant exposure to cyanide. Hydrogen cyanide is toxic to all life. And it's sort of like a kill switch in a plant. When you sort of chew it, macerate it, or blend it, it will release two chemicals.
And that's why we don't eat cyanide.
Cassava cyanide. I've never heard of this before. Is cassava toxic? People should not eat raw cassava because it contains naturally occurring forms of cyanide which are toxic. Soaking and cooking cassava makes these compounds harmless. Cool story, bro. So this sounds like more bullshit.
Well, we eat edible plant foods, and if you need to cook them to get rid of the toxic components, you do that. What I'm trying to say is we're going to go down this rabbit hole, but fundamentally, you can thrive as a vegan. I mean, we're living examples of this. Tens of millions. There's high-performing athletes. We can just name a few, like Lewis Hamilton, like Kyrie Irving, Novak Djokovic, just to name a few. There's heaps. There's nothing to counter the fact that there are vegans, or not even just vegans, because that's an ethical point of view. We just say people that are living off a plant-based diet that are thriving. That's it. That is the case. Now, knowing you can do that, I want to come back to this question.
But do you know that everyone can do that? Because the large majority of my patients...
Getting adequate nutrition, yes, you can. So again, this is the question.
He should challenge him. Name me one disease or condition that would prevent you from getting all the nutrition you need from an appropriately planned plant-based diet. You can't. Especially when you consider, like he could name weird diseases, like there is a genetic disorder that makes it so you can't produce like certain amino acids. You can just take a supplement. Like you can't name one condition.
But these are people that are doing things the right way. Okay. They're taking all the supplements. I mean, these are celebrities and movies.
What evidence do you have to prove that?
What do you mean?
High quality evidence that you can show that vegans are unhealthy.
Here comes the mechanistic nutrient and toxin circle jerking, ignoring that people who eat more plants have less disease.
Well, yeah, they have to rely on mechanistic speculation because if you actually look at any large-scale population data, people who eat plants exclusively have a lower burden of disease and lower rates of mortality. So yeah, Chafee is such a lying scumbag. Thanks for the donation, PP.
When they're getting adequate
What
nutrition.
high level evidence do you have to show that they are?
Well, we can prove that if you consume the nutrients you need, and there's monumental evidence to show that a predominantly plant-based diet, there's little evidence on veganism because that's ethical. But if you're getting the nutrition you need, and there's no denying that plant-based foods are healthy for you. Whole grains, fruits, vegetables, legumes.
Randomized controlled trials.
Absolutely, there are. So you can look at observational studies. You can look
That's not randomized controlled trials.
I said you can
Yeah, you don't need randomized controlled trials to prove that.
look at them, and you can also look at randomized controlled trials.
Do we have any for that? Do we have any randomized controlled
To suggest that plant-based foods are healthy.
Looking at
Do you have any randomized controlled trials showing that a carnivore diet is ideal for human health, like double standard?
Whole food
looking at as if, well, but comparing what population? Comparing a standard American standard Australian diet, which is largely plant-based anyway, it's just processed food.
Most people aren't even following the dietary guidelines. Less than 10.
Like, by the way, this doesn't even make any sense because if you look at large prospective cohorts like the Nurses' Health Study, people who eat more meat have a higher burden of disease and people who eat less meat have a lower burden of disease. So if he's going to say a meat-based diet is better for human health, then please explain how we're seeing these outcomes.
It doesn't matter what the guidelines are. It doesn't matter what people are following. The majority of people are eating 75 to 80% plant-based. It's just processed food plant-based. So that's not the guidelines either. Cheetos are not the guidelines, but that's what a lot of people eat. So and that's plant-based. So
We're not advocating for Cheetos, and that's not plant-based. We're advocating for a whole food plant-based diet.
So the thing is that you're not comparing. We don't have these studies that compare whole food plant-based diet versus whole food meat-based diet. We have studies comparing whole.
Yes, you do. So if you look at prospective cohorts like the Oxford Vegetarian Cohort, the Adventist Health Studies, they have healthy diet scores. Same with the Nurses' Health Study. They have healthy diet scores. So he's lying.
Paul Saladino is this generation's greatest science fiction writer Lamau. I swear everyone quotes him when they're pulling total bullshit out of their ass.
Yeah. He's the guy that all of these pseudo-intellectual idiots point to whenever they're trying to make an argument for why meat's healthy, and he's like the worst source imaginable. Thanks for that donation.
Frank's Amish farmers probably slit the cows' and pigs' throats while they're still alive. You all know that shit ain't regulated at all. Let's go to Frank's shop late at night, smash the windows and go buck wild with the Molotovs.
I wish we could do that. I don't know if the Amish farmers are killing these animals themselves or if they're going to a slaughterhouse, but either way, it's still horrifically cruel. Thanks for the donation, Commissioner Gordon.
Plant-based diet versus a processed plant food diet that includes some meat, and that's the difference.
Look, I don't think we're going to persuade one another that.
So you mentioned studies. What are these studies do you have?
So we can look at like the Epic Oxford, you can look at PrettyMed. These are all diets. These are all studies that are looking at and showing that actually plant-based foods are healthy for you. The more people consume over a long period of time, and you study them, they have good health outcomes. They have lower mortality rates, and they also have lower disease rates.
What do you think? What do you think these studies? Have you read them? Have you come across these in your practice?
No, look, it's not all of these things, but a lot of these things are, again, comparing apples and oranges. They're comparing processed food diets.
Substitution analysis.
So are they comparing a whole food meat-based diet to a whole food plant-based diet?
There are studies that look at high.
Yeah, so again, there's healthy diet scores, and they control for factors like a healthy diet score, socioeconomic status, smoking, alcohol use. It's not like they're comparing, people who are eating a perfect vegan diet to a standard American diet. They're comparing people of similar socioeconomic status, similar types of healthy diet scores. So people are eating similar rates of junk food or processed food, and they're seeing what dietary patterns, whether it be more meat-based or more plant-based, and what the health outcomes are. And the people who are eating more plant-based have better health outcomes. And there's meta-regression analyses on specific food items like red meat, and processed red meat. There's no getting around this. This guy is just lying.
Red meat intakes and comparing that to that. But look, what I will say, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole.
Just for the people, what are these studies?
Yeah, so you can look at Epic Oxford, you can look at the Nurses' Health Study, so you can look at the Adventist Health Study, so epidemiology is solid. Yeah, go on.
The problem with the studies is you have to look at how they define red meat. Right? Some of the studies quoted red meat on the topic that has toppings on a pizza. Eating the pizza was considered eating red meat.
All right.
Yeah, it's considered eating processed red meat. They have different subcategories.
What I'm going to say is I don't really care if you can be healthy on a carnivore diet.
To compare eating meat and eating vegetables, then we should compare people who eat steaks, who eat whole meats, real meats, not toppings on a pizza, compared to a plant-based diet. So it's not about just naming all the studies. We have to take the initiative to read the paper, look at definitions, who sponsored the paper, for what purpose.
Yeah, and then you can look at the methods, you can look at the results in terms.
Oh, great. I love how they got a guy who can barely fucking speak English to fucking get in on this, but they wouldn't allow me on the panel.
You can look at whether it's been peer-reviewed. So I will agree that
apples with apples, you can't compare apples with oranges. And as far as dietary studies are concerned, there are no studies comparing apples with apples.
So they do the nurses study for that. That's something, and actually...
Look at this fucking guy. He has a wrist wrap for, what is it? Carpal tunnel. Like... This guy is skinny and weak as shit, has carpal tunnel, and he's like, yeah, you can't get enough nutrition eating plants. Buddy, you look like you're falling apart.
You know, some nurses, they're in these studies, and they say that once a year they get an email that said, write down all the meals you had last year. How accurate is that going to be?
That's not how they do it. They have verified dietary questionnaires that they normally perform every month to every 3 months.
It's not going to be accurate. It's designed to be inaccurate. They can take that and manipulate that data and use it any way they want.
Do you understand how the hierarchy of evidence actually works? Can you explain it?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's not a proper response to what he's saying. He doesn't know how dietary questionnaires are actually... Well, he probably does. He's just lying. If you look at the latest nurses' health study, that big Harvard study that they showed a link between red meat and diabetes, some of that data came from the Harvard nurses cohort. They explain in the study how they actually get nutrition data. I think they give them a questionnaire every single month. So he's saying, oh yeah, recall what you ate for the last year. That's not how they do it.
So why are you putting the nurses study that's the lowest hierarchy?
It's not the lowest hierarchy. The lowest hierarchy is expert opinion.
Anyway.
Then it's case studies, case series. Then we have epidemiology, and then you have experimental studies, and then you have meta-analysis. Yeah, so there are meta-analyses and critical reviews to even support that then show that the more whole food plant-based we eat, I'm not saying entirely, I'm not saying we eat. Sorry, what do you mean? I'm just saying the more that we eat.
Compared to what? It's always compared to what?
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm trying to say is the more plants we eat, the healthier we are.
More plants than what? Than dirt? Than tobacco? Than meat? Then what? It matters what you're comparing.
Okay, so what then? Explain it.
Those studies are comparing people that eat a processed food diet with a whole foods plant-based diet. They're not comparing whole food meat-based diet with a whole food plant-based diet. And the nurses' study is inherently flawed. Those sort of epidemiological studies are extremely...
They do actually. They do substitution analysis comparing people that are eating, say, more animal protein, and then you compare it to plant protein. No, just you can look specifically at what type of meat they're eating.
They call those the meat. Yeah. Walter Willett admits to this.
I'm not denying you can be healthy whilst consuming meat.
The nurses' study asks you what you've eaten in the last year. That's inherently inaccurate. It's not saying, okay, track every meal for the next year. They say retrospectively look back at what you ate in the entire last year. That is going to be flawed. You're never...
That's not how they do it. They have dietary questionnaires that are given each month.
Going to have accurate data. This is the first time they had the average female caloric intake was hundreds of calories higher than the average male caloric intake in that study. That'll be the first time in history that a large population of men ate less than women. Like this is inherently flawed.
What I'm going to say is...
That wasn't a finding from the paper.
If you can be healthy on a carnivore diet, despite not really having any high quality elements to support it, I don't really mind. If you want to eat a carnivore diet and consider yourself being healthy, you can say that. I'm trying to say that you can thrive as a vegan. You can do it. I think we're going to agree to disagree here. What I really want to focus on is that...
I made the mistake of looking at the comment section of that video. Room temp IQ energy. Did you know carnivores use facts and logic, and vegans are just emotional?
I didn't know that. I guess that's why meat eaters always use the argument bacon, though. Thanks for the donation, boob.
How can you justify, again, I want to ask this question, enslaving innocent animals, chopping their head off inside slaughterhouses, raping them, torturing them? How can you justify that? Knowing you don't have to be, you have an option.
So the thing is, two things. One, we disagree on premise that you can be
okay, well let's say hypothetically, we're going to go in circles. Let's say hypothetically.
No, but that's not hypothetical. That's an important point.
You don't need to even ask hypothetically if this were the case. You can grant the idea that a vegan diet isn't as healthy, or you could say it's up in the air. It doesn't matter. You should just run name the trait. It could come with whatever caveat you want. So just run name the trait on him. It's not important for the ethical issue of whether or not it's okay to Holocaust animals, whether a vegan diet is healthier or not.
Because I have patients who are sick when they eat plants. They get autoimmunity. They get
That's anecdotal evidence. It's not evidence.
It's not actually. Solid evidence. Okay. Do you agree you can thrive on...
By the way, notice the double standard he's using. Jack just messaged me. Cool. He might be able to come on the stream right now. Well, I forgot what I was going to say here.
Raping them, torturing them.
Oh yeah, the double standard here. So Chafee is saying he has clients that come to him who claim they have autoimmune issues when they're, eating plants. So he's completely rejecting the idea of epidemiology being useful research, but then he's looking at these cases where he's going to be extremely biased personally and acting as though that's adequate evidence. So if he's going to deny epidemiology, I don't know how he could claim like this is adequate evidence. Oh, I met some guy who said he has autoimmune issues because he eats broccoli.
How can you justify that? No, when you don't have to be, you have an option.
So the thing is, two things. One, we disagree on the premise that you can be optimal.
Okay, well let's say hypothetically, we're going to go around in circles. Let's say hypothetically.
No, but that's not hypothetical. That's an important point. Because I have patients who are sick when they eat plants. They get autoimmunity. They get
that's anecdotal evidence. It's not evidence.
It's not
It's not solid evidence.
Okay.
Do you agree you can thrive on a meat-based
No,
diet?
I say thrive because there's no actual solid evidence to show that.
What's your
All I would say is if you want
definition
to,
of
you can
thrive,
survive if you can.
Well, just being healthy. So the thing is that just being optimally healthy. So eating what we're biologically designed for is going to give us optimal nutrition.
We are not biologically designed. We're products of natural selection. Does he have... Do I have him on Discord? Give me a second. I don't know if I have him on Discord. I'm just gonna wait for Jack. Just give me a minute. No, you cannot eat meat and veggies. You can only eat veggies, or else I will come for you. Why can't I be omnivore? Because you'd be a piece of shit. That's why. What the fuck is Jack doing? I don't know what he's doing. I'll just keep reacting.
That's the definition in trumps. So lions and hyenas and giraffes and cow, they have a specific evolutionary, biologically appropriate.
I am a fucking vegan.
That's good to know. I won't have to kill you. Thanks for the donation, Poppy Black Lotus.
Species-specific diet. That's how biology works.
So we don't derive health recommendations of what happens in nature.
Well, maybe we should. No, because our health recommendations are shit, and people are getting fatter and sicker than they've ever been.
Because most people aren't following health recommendations.
Really? That's why? Do you have any high-level evidence to prove that?
That you can look at.
Yeah, so you can look at rates of... So you can look at the rate at which people follow USDA recommendations. They're extremely low.
You can look at studies where most people are not even following what is recommended to be healthy. It's like less than 10% of people.
What about people that are? I mean, you don't understand. Like we see all the time.
Are you saying we're unhealthy?
I don't know. I haven't checked your blood.
Well, we know our bloods. We are healthy.
Well, that's good.
I'm healthy. Like I said, like this high performance. I don't want to argue too much.
Would you be open to do a blood examination to actually see what's going on inside your real life example?
Yeah, and likewise.
Would you be able?
I don't really care. Like I'm trying to say over and over again, I don't really care. We can agree to differ on whether or not you can be healthy. I just want to get your point of view. Now let's go be honest. Let's say hypothetically then you have lab-grown meat that's identical to yours. Let's just say that. Would you say that lab-grown meat is more ethical than the flesh that comes from somebody that was murdered?
Do you know how lab-grown meat is made?
I'm just saying, let's say it's identical. Let's say it's identical. No, I want to ask you, yes or no. Is
they inseminate it?
No,
they rape it by your
you don't need to do this.
and then they abort it.
And so you're saying that that's unethical?
and then they grow that. No, I'm saying that like, why are you saying that's okay, but letting an animal live out in pasture and you protect
You don't have to be doing that to be growing live meat anymore, for sure. I want to ask you again. Let's say it's identical. What is more ethical? Flesh that comes from somebody that was murdered, or flesh that comes from nothing, something that was grown in a lab?
So we don't agree on that either. But the thing is that you're talking about it's more ethical to be vegan. I don't agree with that.
What's more ethical? Flesh that comes from somebody that was murdered in a slaughterhouse, or one that was grown in a lab?
So what's more ethical, killing one animal for your food for 2 years and getting optimal nutrition, or killing 25 times the number of sentient animals to grow a single kilo of plant-based protein versus
Can't answer the question.
Yeah, I don't even know where he's getting that number from. The idea that you can survive off of only killing 2 animals per year, I haven't seen any evidence that that's possible. You may be able to live off of, say, 2 cows in a given year, but that doesn't mean you're only killing 2 animals.
Question, can you? You've avoided answering the question.
What's more ethical? What's more ethical? The flesh that comes from somebody that died in a slaughterhouse?
Killing one animal every 2 years.
Okay, well, we can go down through.
Hundreds of animals to grow crops.
So that's not, first of all, those numbers are way off. But even if you're looking at incidental deaths coming from grass. So what?
Take that up with the University of New South Wales. As a study they published in 2011, that to grow 1 kilo of plant-based protein, you have to kill 25 times the number of sentient animals.
What was this study called?
I have it on my phone. I can send it to you.
New South Wales, kilo of protein kills 25 times more animals. Something. So I think 404 not found. Great. Oh, Mike Archer. So for nearly a decade, Professor Mike Archer at the University of New South Wales has accused vegetarians and vegans of having more animal blood on their hands. He claims that getting your protein from plants instead of grass-fed meat will end up costing lives of at least 25. I know the study. He's talking about Mike Archer, who's an Australian... he's a university professor, and I think he's in agricultural oh, there, shit. I think he's messaging me. Hey, what's up, dude?
Hey, speak for me. I just want to check you're in my headphones.
Hello, do you hear me?
No, I don't think you are. Hold on 2 seconds. All right, I think we're good.
Okay, do you see the screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we're about 22 minutes into the debate. First, can you hear this?
I can have an idea of what was saying, because I know.
Yeah, I can hear that. It's all
Okay, good. So, first mistake you made in the debate was you let him suck you into a debate over nutrition, because you asked him an ethical question like, do you think it's like okay to kill like innocent animals, something along those lines. Then he made some claim about how you can't get enough nutrition on a vegan diet, and then you went down this whole rabbit hole of whether or not you can get enough nutrition on a vegan diet, crap like that, and then he kept denying the premise you were making, like assuming you can be healthy as a vegan, is it justified to kill animals? And then he disagreed with the premise, and then you just went back into a debate on nutrition. This is why I think you should just run Name the Trait, because if you just ask him, name the trait that's lacking in animals that if lacking in human beings would justify killing and eating human beings. Because
I do, but I should have done it sooner.
Yeah, because if you're going to ask him a question like that, he can just keep saying, well, I disagree with the premise. And then you have to debate him on the premise you disagree on, which is whether or not you can get enough nutrition. If you just, if you just ran Name the Trait, whether or not he agrees with, that idea that you can get enough nutrition on a vegan diet, it really wouldn't matter, because he has to debate you on Name the Trait and not whether or not you can get enough nutrition on a vegan diet. So you can eliminate that premise from the discussion, and then you don't have to have a nutrition debate. He also...
What I will say... Yeah. Sorry, before you continue. Yes. I'm just trying to remember the first 20 minutes. I know what you're talking about, because it does kind of get straight into nutrition, as I expected, because, first of all, is it streaming right now, by the way?
Yeah, we're streaming.
Yeah, so as a bit of context, we weren't exactly told that this was going to be a debate on nutrition. The host just kind of said, come in, we got Anthony Chafee here, carnivore doctor, we just want to bring you guys in. The host knows we're animal rights activists, so it's like we're not coming in to debate nutrition, and it wasn't even made clear. But I expected that to be the case, and obviously we talked a little bit before this, and you were meant to come on, obviously, which was a big fucking sham, and not letting you come on minutes before, which is just stupid. But yeah, then it gets into nutrition, and I guess, in my mind, I was going to at least, I think in my mind at this point, he was going to deny name the trait, which I do get into probably in about 10 minutes, I think maybe. Because it's pointless to go down that route because you can't even do it anyway. There's no point going vegan because you're going to die if you do so. But I know exactly what you're saying, and that's why I wanted to get into it sooner. Which unfortunately, he just wormed his way out of any question around ethics. And you're going to find very soon it's so fucking frustrating because the moment we bring it into ethics and name the trait, even the hosts stop us from doing it. They say, "Oh, we're going around in circles now because he can't answer a question." But anyway, that's me just catching up there. But yeah, you can continue.
To be fair to Chafee, I wouldn't say it's necessarily dishonest what he did here, because if we were to formalize your argument into a syllogism, you can. So premise 1, you can be healthy as a vegan. Premise 2, because you can be healthy as a vegan, you do not need to eat meat. And eating meat kills animals, therefore killing animals to eat meat is wrong. He can disagree with one of those premises, and he disagreed with the first premise that you can be healthy as a vegan. So it's fine for him to bring up the issue. If he disagrees with one of the premises, he can bring up that disagreement, and then you have to argue on that premise. But that's not the premise that you really want to fight him on. You don't want to fight him on whether or not you can be healthy as a vegan. You just want to fight him on whether or not it's justified to kill and eat animals. So you should really think of how you formulate arguments. And avoid getting into arguments that you don't want to be in. So you should have just started off with name the trait. I wouldn't say he's being dishonest at this point. It's fair.
I wouldn't say he is either.
Yeah, it's fair for him to, disagree with that premise. Now, he also got into a bunch of, you're talking about epidemiology. He lied about epidemiological research. The main lie that he made was that the way they do these food frequency questionnaires is they will do them every year. So they'll ask you, what did you eat for the last year? That's not how food frequency questionnaires are done. Usually,
I wish I pushed back on that harder now.
Yeah, usually they're done once a month. Sometimes they're done every week in some studies, but usually they're done once a month, sometimes every 3 months. In the Harvard Nurses Health Study, I think they were done every 2 weeks to every month. So he lied about that. There was also a bit of a contradiction. He was saying that he doesn't believe in epidemiology because you can't verify, food frequency. The way they do the questionnaires is kind of bullcrap. The way they can control for epidemiology isn't strong enough. But then he said, "Oh, well, I see people in my clinical practice all the time who come in saying they've been trying to be vegan and then they just can't do it and they have autoimmune problems." Well, the degree, you'd have the same problems. How do you verify, their food frequency? They can tell you anything they want. You're basically asking them to recollect what they've been eating for the last few months or years if they've been on the diet for years. There's a much higher likelihood of bias. So if he's going to claim that's adequate evidence, but then he's going to deny evidence from epidemiology, that's a clear double standard. But now,
yes, absolutely, yeah. I can't remember what I said to him when he said that, but I do talk about that's just an anecdote. I can't remember what I said, but I do bring up the hierarchy of evidence, and I'm not sure if I've done it yet.
Yeah, so now he's bringing up the claim that for every kilo of plant protein, you kill 25 times more animals than if you produce a kilo of animal protein. That was coming from the Professor Mike Archer from the University of New South Wales. Avi actually did a big debunk of this, and there's actually a few debunks online. Basically, he miscalculated the extent of mouse plagues on Australian farms, and he also didn't account for the fact that mouse plagues also affect animal agriculture. So they also use poisons to deal with mouse plagues on animal farms. So he massively overcalculated how many mice are actually killed in mouse plagues. And he also didn't account for the fact that mice are also killed in animal agriculture. So if you actually break down the numbers properly, you still end up getting far fewer animal deaths with plant protein than you do with animal protein. So he was just totally wrong there.
Yeah. These studies.
Well, it's not my fault, like I said.
But what I'm just trying to say, these numbers are way off. We can pop up the numbers. Maybe I can send through the research on this. It's very limited, actually. But even if you're looking at grass-fed systems with cows, you're not accounting for the incidental deaths that are come from cows going over the grass, crushing insects in it, cows eating the grass, insects in it, killed from protecting predators, growing hay.
We're going to talk about insects. We talk about 1 quadrillion insects that are killed every year from pesticides just in America. That's the entire base of the food chain. How many animals cease to exist because they starve to death or don't exist in the first place.
Pesticides that are also used in animal agricultural systems as well.
What pesticides do you have to use for a cow?
To grow hay. to grow the crops that are fed to them. They also spray pesticides onto their body because insects go onto cows' body. You can look at this.
That's in certain conditions, but you don't have to support those conditions. You can go.
Incidental deaths simultaneously occur in animal agriculture as well. Now, the big difference between plant.
So yeah, this is a decent pushback. You could have maybe made it more clear that he hasn't provided any data indicating that for each animal killed in animal agriculture, it only results in one animal death. That's clearly not the case. You're going to get insect deaths. You're going to get like rodent and like rabbit deaths, from harvesting. Pesticides will affect other animals. Predatory animals are killed. There's natural native wildlife species that are displaced from animal agriculture. So if he's going to claim that it's a 1-to-1, death for animal agriculture, for every animal killed that's brought to slaughter, only one animal dies, he'd have to provide evidence for that. Yeah.
Sure. So it's about putting it back. And this is something in hindsight that I did wish I did more, was to put it on him. Where's your evidence? And it's not something that I did enough, but with hindsight, definitely. I know this guy fucking provided literally no evidence, and you're going to see he probably talks about two such irrelevant studies throughout the entire thing, and the host don't pull him up on it once. It was very frustrating, but that should have been on us to get that out of him too.
Agriculture in this case, it's like, I like this analogy. So you're driving one car, you're driving another car. One represents plant-based agriculture, one represents animal-based agriculture. Both are going to have incidental deaths. So in this case, it's like you're driving a car. When you drive a car, you're likely to hit small animals. You're also likely to hit a human. You have to account for this when you're driving a car. That's an incidental death that's going to occur. But we also know we need to be driving a car, so we take that risk on board. The difference between plant-based agriculture or a vegan and yourself, one that supports animal agriculture, is you're forcibly breeding animals into existence to put them on the road and then hit them deliberately, as well as the incidental deaths that come along with that. How do you justify forcibly breeding animals into existence, enslaving them, and then sending them to a slaughterhouse at a fraction of their natural lifespan? How do you justify that?
Well, life is taken either way. So you're justifying.
I can't just take your life.
No, you're justifying killing all these animals, including the air, the waterways, including the soil, having glyphosate in the rainwater now, destroying the environment because you want to eat plants and you want to say, well, I'm one step removed from killing these animals, therefore it's okay to kill those animals. It's not. It's the same thing.
Animal agriculture is literally responsible for the most deforestation in the world, ocean dead zones.
What about acai berries? What about
acai berries?
Well, I'm saying this. They're cutting down the Amazon for
but I'm saying animal agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation. Absolutely it is.
Well, the thing is that you can put animals on land. You don't have to deforest it. You can do this in a different way. And the thing is that animals bring manure, they drink water, they pee that out, and they revitalize the soil. You cannot have plant agriculture without animal agriculture. That's
plant agriculture requires significantly less land as well. It's not even feasible to have that many cows grazing on Earth. If we would have a grass-fed system for the entire Earth, we would need multiple Earths.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, absolutely. If we went plant-based, we would actually free up as much land as the entire continent of Africa.
How much arable land is there?
Sorry,
how much?
Yeah, so in the United States, the grass-fed beef supply would only support about 33% of demand. So if you were to move to a completely grass-fed food system, you would need multiple Earths if you were going to meet the demands of like the entire worldwide beef supply. So you were dead on there. And you should also, it's also important to bring up, if he wants everybody to eat a carnivore diet and everybody should be eating this way, it would be completely impossible to do that on a grass-fed food system. The whole reason why we're growing corn and soybeans and using glyphosate and all these pesticides is because of people like him who are eating so much red meat. So if he has a problem with things like deforestation and shit, total hypocrite.
Arable land is that you can grow crops.
So you give me the number.
4% of the Earth's surface. How much rangeland and forest land where you can run animals on? It's 25%. So there's far more land available to run animals on. You don't have to deforest it. You can just run animals through it. And actually
you do have to deforest it.
You don't.
The science actually shows that it is the leading cause of deforestation.
No. Just because people do it doesn't mean you have to do it. There are different ways of doing things, and that's the thing. You can support people that are raising animals.
Yeah. So apparently people are just deforesting things for fun.
Defrozen?
Huh? Am I frozen? Do you hear me? Hello? I don't know if Jack can hear me. I'm gonna call him back. Hello? Australian internet. Ugh. Hey.
No, man.
Okay. Let's.
What did you say? You just paused it, and I didn't hear anything you said after.
Oh, he was saying you don't need to, deforest areas for, grass grazing cattle. He's literally suggesting that people are, deforesting these areas just for fun.
Yeah.
Why would they go through the expense of deforesting these areas, chopping down trees if they didn't have to?
Yes.
In a more ethical way, and I support that. I don't think that's a good.
How is slavery ethical? How is slavery and murder ethical?
Okay, so why is it better to murder other animals?
I already explained to you. the case between incidental.
One step removed, and
both,
of course, okay.
Both contain incidental deaths. Both use pesticides. Actually,
And
yeah, you're talking
deliberate
about
death.
specifically, but
Sorry,
90% of people are consuming animals that come from conventional agriculture as well.
So let's change that.
The vast majority of
go in
protests
that direction.
It doesn't take away the rights violations, the murder, the enslavement that you're continuing to justify.
So the thing is, this conversation is about nutrition.
No, it's not.
It is actually.
Yeah, I think on one side, the question is, what you're trying to pose is, how can you justify killing animals? And the approach...
Murdering animals, not just killing.
Killing, murdering. And the approach you guys are trying to take is, they're trying to justify whether or not plant-based diet is an adequate, nutritious diet for the human being. That's really the question.
Yeah, we've already
is
tried
a
to establish
plant-based diet a nutritious diet?
Yeah, there's nothing. I can't convince a pseudoscientist. There's nothing that I can say to convince somebody.
What makes you say he's a pseudoscientist?
Because he hasn't provided any actual high-quality evidence to support his claims. Provide me some type of evidence that
the nurse's study is not a high-quality study.
Sorry?
The nurse's study is not a high-quality study. Why are you saying?
It's an extremely high-quality study. It's one of the best ever designed. So if you talk to any epidemiological experts, Nurses' Health Study is one of the best ever designed. So that's just outright false.
Meta-analyses as well.
Of junk. Meta-analysis
What
of
do you
junk.
have to support your
junk
claims?
in, junk out. A meta-analysis of craft studies that don't compare the populations in question.
What can I say to
You're gonna
convince you?
have
I just want to hear some studies on your side.
Okay.
Some
well,
high-quality studies.
Some high-quality studies. So there was an interventional trial with Crohn's disease looking at actual medical outcomes where they took away carbohydrates and fiber.
What type of study was it?
It was a randomized control trial. They had two subject parties, and they had one group. They both had Crohn's disease, and they removed carbohydrates and fiber, and they saw how long could you stay in remission without medication. The experiment group stayed in remission on average 51 or up to 51 months. The control group stayed in remission without medication on average 0 months. That's experimental data taking away something plant-based, carbohydrates and fiber. There was something in the fiber, carbohydrates, or something came along with them that was precipitating and worsening and exacerbating their Crohn's disease. You take that away, it goes away. So that's a serious medical issue that goes away when you remove plant material. There's another one with Crohn's disease, another randomized controlled trial where they put the people on an elemental diet, which is a very processed diet. It's just the macros and micros that you need. Actually, they don't have all of them, but you know all of them. And it's generally ketogenic because it's developed for kids with epilepsy. And that elemental diet was a better treatment to get people out of an acute flare of Crohn's than prednisolone, which is steroids, gold standard. So just not eating certain things was a better treatment than steroids, the gold standard. And that's what it's.
So this has nothing to do with his claim
I know.
that you can't get adequate
God.
nutrition on a vegan diet. So yeah, okay, great. So it's good for treating Crohn's. What do I care? So apparently if you have Crohn's disease, it's okay to commit murder, I guess.
Yeah, which I know people with Crohn's disease that are treating it with a plant-based diet as well. So
yeah.
It's just your macros and micros that you need and nothing else.
So are you, just to make it clear, are you just overall going to deny that even if you're getting adequate nutrition, you can't be healthy on a plant-based diet?
No,
just
I'm saying you can't be healthy.
So you can be healthy?
I'm saying that you can't be optimal. I'm saying there are a lot of people that suffer severely.
So you should ask him to clarify what optimal health is.
I know. I wish I did.
I don't even know what optimal health is, and I mean,
If you're healthy, you're healthy.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, like when you're talking about like symptoms and shit, like you might feel very tired or sleepy or lethargic and not have much energy. A diet that makes you live as long as possible, you'd expect to have certain outcomes like that, because there's some evidence that severe caloric restriction can extend life expectancy or prevent certain chronic diseases. But that can also come with a negative of reducing testosterone, reducing energy. You might not feel great. You might not be great at certain sports. So are you optimally healthy? Like, how are we defining health? Is it just living as long as possible while avoiding disease? Because that might be a diet that makes you not feel great at the same time. So yeah, just a very weird, vague term that he's making. And again,
I guess the important thing to go on.
Yeah, like if he's gonna say you can't be optimally healthy as a vegan, like what's his evidence for that? Like define optimal health and show me the research showing that you cannot reach said optimal health. Like you can't. He's just gonna, randomized trial on Crohn's disease found that if you don't eat any fiber, you feel better. But like, what does that have to do with anything?
It's not even talking about carnivore dieting anyway. It's just literally talking about the exclusion of fiber, which I'm not entirely sure on it, but I'm sure you could do a vegan version without a large amount of fiber, or even probably close to none. I'm sure you can remove fiber and have a certain supplemented diet. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't have to be carnivore. It doesn't have to involve murder.
Yeah. So like he just doesn't have evidence for the claims he's making.
I'm saying that nutrients.
What are you talking about? I don't know anyone that's suffering from eating a plant-based diet.
I told you about.
You talked about ways that you can help alleviate Crohn's disease, which can also be done other ways as well.
So what did I just say? So people eating certain plants exacerbates their Crohn's disease. We have hundreds of patients that massively benefit from eliminating plants. There are literally hundreds of thousands, millions of people around the world doing this right now.
Well, let's go with that. For the people that can be healthy as a vegan.
Do what you want.
Yeah,
I have no problem.
No, I'm just saying. For people, that's the vast majority. People can be.
Really?
I just want to know, again, knowing you can be healthy.
Pretty pseudoscientific to make that statement.
What? That you can get adequate
majority of
nutrition
people
and thrive.
The vast
So again, when you're making this claim that you're making an argument with that premise, and he's going to keep, disagreeing with you on the premise, you should just go away from that kind of argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, just run name to trait.
Yeah.
What evidence do you have to support that claim?
What claim?
The claim that you just made.
That you can get adequate nutrition as a
The
vegan.
vast majority of people will thrive on vegan diet. What high level data do you have to show that?
What do you? I'm just trying to get it clear. I'm just trying to say, if you can get adequate nutrition,
No, you're avoiding the issue. You said that the vast majority of people,
if you have access
thrive
to
on a
plant-based foods,
vegan diet.
yes.
What is your evidence for that?
It's a logical thing.
No.
To say,
What is your
if you can get adequate nutrition,
No.
you can meet
What
your
is your
nutrition intakes, your blood work support it. What
is your
are you trying to say that you can't do it?
You made a definitive statement. You said that the vast majority can do this. What is your evidence to say that?
I want to know your evidence to say otherwise, that you can't. If you're meeting your nutrient requirements, what evidence do you have on any diet that you can't thrive on that diet, knowing you're meeting your nutrient requirements?
You made a claim that you can't defend it.
I don't have any papers on me to give it an exact
So you
answer.
made a claim that you can't.
So you could have maybe been more clear, and just made the statement, as long as you're getting adequate nutrition, you can be fine on any diet. You could be on a carnivore diet, assuming you're getting all the adequate nutrition, you'll be fine. You might have an increased risk of certain disease, but you'll live.
You can
It's
be
not like you're gonna
technically
fall
healthy,
apart.
to survive.
Yeah, so you might have wanted to be a little bit more clear about that and not have it specifically about a vegan diet.
Any diet,
Yeah, and if you look at any large prospective cohorts, so Oxford vegetarian cohort, the Adventist cohort studies, vegans and vegetarians do fare better. They have lower risk of chronic disease, and they live longer. And the American Dietetics Association, they also have that position paper.
So we do mention that soon. So I guess you're right. This was the part that annoyed me the most in terms of how I did respond to it. I think because I might have just made the word choice in saying that that there is the vast majority can thrive. So I said can, so maybe I have to provide evidence. I should have just been clear and said, if you're getting, I could have said it simply, if you're getting adequate nutrition, what reason do you have to believe that you can't be healthy and survive on any diet? But the thing is, I also already provided the evidence prior that does support the consumption of plant foods and healthy and good health outcomes. It's just, I wish that I delved a little bit deeper, like you just did, just slightly deeper, to talk about the vegan groups and them and how they performed. But then again, he would have brought up the same bullshit and said that they're bad studies, and I could have pushed back again. But yeah, I think I should have kept it very simple, like you said.
Yeah, there's no reason in particular why you would expect any diet to fail, quote unquote, or be unsustainable, assuming you're getting adequate nutrition. So
I'll say I'll tell you what his argument is very soon on that, unless he's already said it and I missed it. There's certain nutrients we don't know about yet.
Yeah, he said that.
What nutrients? Which for
Yeah.
himself, what nutrients and why is he supposedly getting them? He would have talked about evolution. Because we did it for millions of years, but we didn't go down that road. Road.
Defend.
I'm trying to say that if you're getting,
claim that you can't defend.
my claim is, if you're getting adequate
And
nutrition,
anything either. All leading dietetic and nutrition associations across the world confirm that a 100% plant-based diet is safe at all stages of life, no matter what disease.
That's not true.
So you deny the leading nutrition and dietetic associations across the world, their claim?
Yeah.
So he mentioned Italy made it illegal for parents to feed their kids a vegan diet, something along those lines.
Expert opinion.
I don't think that's actually true. So they made it illegal to feed your kid a non-nutritionally adequate diet. They didn't specifically ban vegan diets. And that wasn't a position statement made by any dietetic association. That was just the government.
Yeah.
Where's your evidence to deny dietetics and nutritionists?
You're cherry picking. You're saying that these are the dietetics.
The nutritionists and dietetics, leading nutritionists and dietetics of the world, are cherry picking. Where's your?
You're picking them.
no, we're talking about dietitians, people that study it, spend their life studying
And
nutrition.
there are plenty of them that say, no, you can't.
But this is a consensus by association.
That defines reality than consensus. Well, the consensus was that murder, rape, and slavery was good for thousands of years. Obviously, that was okay then, right?
What consensus? We're talking about society consensus. We're talking about consensus of scientists.
Well, we go back to
So again, let's say that you're still paying for the rape. You're still paying for the rape, murder, and abuse of animals. Again, How can you justify that? If you put humans in the position that you put animals, how could you justify putting humans into a slaughterhouse? You can get nutrients from
How do
humans.
you justify killing 25 times the number of animals to grow your crops rather than just having one animal every
That's
year?
not true. A majority of crops grown are fed to the 80 billion farmed animals that are
93%
murdered every year.
93% of the food that feed the animals get are inedible by humans. They'll either be burned or thrown in a landfill.
Okay, so there's roughly 80 billion, if not more, land animals that are bred into existence every year and murdered, and the human population is 8 billion. Who do you think is eating the most food on this planet? 80 billion non-human animals or 8 billion human animals? Who's eating more?
Right, but what is that food? Is that
Who's
food?
eating more?
Who cares? That's not the
No, but
question.
who's eating more? Who
cares?
But it's common sense what the answer is, right? 80 billion non-human people or 8 billion
What are they
humans?
eating?
Who's
They're
eating
grass.
more?
They're eating-
Who's eating more food?
Who cares?
No, who is eating
No,
more
no,
food? Do you know the answer?
Well, there's a lot of bullshit. So he repeated the same misinformation from that Archer study that overcalculated mouse plagues. So he's wrong there. He's also wrong about these animals just eating grass. Majority of these animals are eating corn and soy. So that's also just false.
Or not?
No, why does it matter?
What does it matter?
I'm asking you a question. This is a debate, and I'm asking you a question, and you failed to answer pretty much any of our questions.
No, the problem
Who's
is
eating more
that
food, 80 billion land animals or 8 billion human animals? It's common sense. What's the answer?
Well, you know the answer to that. And my
What is your
counter
answer?
Who cares?
What's your answer? Yes.
Well, who? With 80 billion?
Yes.
Yeah.
So who do you think is who do you think is responsible for the most incidental deaths? The 80 billion land animals that are consuming the vast majority of resources on Earth, or the 8 billion humans?
8 billion humans by far.
No, who are responsible for the most incidental deaths when you're considering
humans
the
by
amount
far.
of how?
Because we're killing a quadrillion insects.
No, but you just admitted that the 80 billion land humans logically would.
So that's an interesting point. He's talking about insect deaths, and he's using that as like a mark against vegans. You shouldn't just accept the premise that there are more insect deaths in agriculture than would otherwise occur. Like, there's no particular reason. Like, insects live like a few weeks at a time. They breed very quickly and they live very short lives. So that might have been something you wanted to push back on and ask him, like, do you have any data suggesting that more insects die in agriculture? There's no data on this. It could be the case that more insects die, but it could also not be the case. I don't know why you'd just assume that.
Yes.
Would be consuming the most resources. That absolutely is the case. That's where most of the incidental deaths are going to occur.
Not at all.
Okay.
That is saying that the only resource is the grass as a food source, but the animals
But they're
themselves
actually
can be
doing
a
most
food
of the
source,
crops.
right?
They're not just being fed grass.
No,
It's
they're not
actually
eating
very
most of the
small
crops. They're eating the silage. They're eating the waste of the crops that we grow for humans. We grow that for ourselves. That is the case.
Most of the crops grown are actually fed to animals.
No, they're not. Those are the inedible parts of the plant.
If I could
You've got the
interject.
hay, you've got a piece of stalk, and we take the grain, we grow it for the grain. Then we have all this plant left over. What do we do with that? Well, we can burn it, which is what they do down the Amazon. They do that all over the world, causing massive pollution and waste. And or they throw it away.
So if we stop breeding animals into existence and feeding all that food to them, we could free up so much land that could be rewilded.
So this is also
So before you
false.
start, can I
Yeah.
just say something?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is so fucking stupid. I can't even understand how anybody would take this guy seriously after that. So it's like, so how much grain are humans eating? So there's around 8 billion humans. How much of them are eating grain? So that's a percentage fed to humans. Now he's saying literally the byproduct of what humans are consuming is enough to feed 80 billion land animals every year, or how many animals are fed, grain. It's just such a logical. It's so illogical that he even said that. And I wish maybe I made that more clear, but it makes no sense logically or mathematically what he just said.
Yeah, so the majority of the edible part of the plant is being fed to animals. They do eat the forage, so, like the stalk, but the majority of the edible plant is also being fed to the actual livestock.
Yeah. And far less land for the 8 billion humans as
We're
compared to
not
the
growing these things for animals. We're eating them in raised products. No,
true.
they are not.
Well, they shouldn't be raised and bred into existence in the first place. They should not exist to be subjected to rape, enslavement, torture, abuse, and murder. It's that simple.
That's fine, and that's certainly a discussion that we can have. But we're jumping around from different points. And the thing is that we do grow crops for ourselves, and the waste products do go to animals. And if they don't go to the animals, they get burned or they get thrown away. And now, look, I'm not arguing from an ethical point of view. Like I agree with you, we need to treat animals well. That's our.
So why?
Then you agree with veganism. Then you shouldn't be paying for them to be murdered and have their heads chopped off.
I agree with the premise that we should treat animals.
So why don't you do that
properly?
You wouldn't do this to
Okay,
humans. So why
what
do you
is
do it to
properly?
non-humans?
You have to take it past stage one. You can't look at the surface level.
Well,
So you're raising an animal. If you're eating plants, but then what's beyond that? Because I eat a cow, it's going to last me for 2 years. That's one life.
Plus all the incidental deaths that go with that.
Sure. And then this is going to take far more life. It's going to damage the ecosystem far more. It's going to kill a quadrillion insects just in America. That's the base of the food chain. 700 million birds get injured by pesticide. 68 million birds.
Pesticides used in animal agriculture?
No, it's not, because animals can just eat grass.
Now, let's say
so the animals
what
I eat grass.
No, we can go around circles.
Hypothetically, the foundation of your statement is that we're killing animals and they shouldn't be killed. If philosophically we imagine a reality where death wasn't real, like when you die you're actually born again and it's continuing on, would that make you change your stance
Well,
on being able to eat meat?
that's the same thing. I wouldn't kill you just because you might be reborn again. You deserve to have your life. I'm not going to murder you. The same non-human animals. I just want to know, what trait are non-human animals lacking that allows you to justify their inevitable slaughterhouses? So not humans.
So what traits do plants have?
Then I'll ask you a question.
No, but like,
Rephrase another question to me.
The thing is, this is part of nature, it's part of life. We are heterotrophs, animals are heterotrophs. Something has to die.
What trait are they lacking that allows you to murder them but not humans?
These are
What trait?
these are false equivalents.
Once again, you can't answer the
What
question.
trait do non-human animals
So now he's clearly dodging. So you asked him to name a trait, and he's clearly just not answering. Totally fair question, and he's just avoiding the question.
that allows you to enslave and murder them but
This
not
is a
humans?
distraction.
It's not a distraction, it's a question.
No, it's a
Is
distraction.
it because you feel guilty when you think about your answer to these questions?
No.
Feel
The thing
guilty for
is-
being
no,
responsible for the largest Holocaust in history?
Well, that's
So you're not guilty for murdering animals. You don't feel guilty.
Holocaust. You said you-
Like, by the way, it's such a bizarre thing to say it's a false equivalence. Well, you're not, like, you're asking him to show that it's, it's not equivalent. Like you're coming from the position that there is not a substantive difference between humans and animals, and he does. So for him saying it's a false equivalence, well, the question has nothing to do with, suggesting there is an equivalence. It's asking you, what is the difference? So it's like he doesn't even understand the question.
No.
They eat other fish, and they eat other fish, 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 they eat algae. And so they're all carnivores, they're all killing each other.
So do you base your morality on what wild animals do?
Do you base morality just on what you can see in front of you and not the knock-on effects that happen?
Do you base your morality on what happens in nature? Yes or no?
Can you expand on that question?
Do you base your
So
moral
you shouldn't have asked him that. You should have just kept asking about name the trait. This just
I
gives
try to
him
get
another,
back to it. Yeah.
yeah, this just
I
gives him
know,
another
I
opportunity
joke
to
on that.
dodge. Like it's kind of awkward for a lot of people to just keep asking the same question over and over and over again. But if you're not getting an answer, you have to make them just
Yeah.
acknowledge the question and answer. So just keep asking over and over and over again until you get an answer.
Trust me, I do love asking the same question over and over. And I should have, obviously come straight back to it. I think because Tash brought up something else, so therefore I went with that. But I think I come back to it very soon. So we'll see.
daily decisions on what happens in nature? Yes or no?
No.
Well, at the moment, you're appealing to a nature fallacy. You're saying because wild animals eat other animals, therefore it's okay for you to do. That's what it seems like you're applying here.
No, I am saying that it's okay for us to eat other animals. That has nothing to do with other animals eating other animals.
But you were just talking about fish eating other fish. But we're trying to talk about your food choice. What's your justification to murder
No.
animals?
You're jumping around the topic. You made a specific point. You said this is the largest Holocaust. I said no, it's not. Animals
is.
eating other animals throughout the world, or they're eating
Okay,
farm
what's the
animals that we
definition of
are.
a Holocaust?
What
Do you know what a
exactly
Holocaust is?
Sweetie, the thing is...
No, you don't need to call me sweetie and degrade me because you don't even know what a Holocaust is. It's deliberate mass murder.
Okay.
So what's happening in nature
a
is
shark is
not
not deliberately
deliberate.
eating other fish.
It's not murder because they need to do it in order for their survival.
Well, it is murder. It doesn't matter if they
I
need
try
to
to
do it.
clarify, Tash. Yeah.
Yeah, it would still be murder.
It's not murder.
We are doing this for our survival. This is an optimal way for people to live.
So we should be dead then.
Maybe
All the millions of vegans on this planet should be dead. Because you said we need to eat animals for survival, but we're here alive right here in front of you. You did earlier in this conversation. You said we need meat for survival. You said that.
There are essential nutrients in meat that
Yeah, but you said you need it for survival, but we're here in front of you. We haven't ate animals for 7 years. You said we
If you
need
want
meat
to
for
thrive, if you want
survival.
to be optimal. I said optimal.
No, you said we need meat for survival. It's all recorded. You said we need meat for survival.
I also said optimal. You need nutrients from meat. If you want to say you can use some supplements, that's fine.
So what nutrients in animal flesh do you need for optimal survival that you can't get in
I literally
plant-based
just said
diet?
carnitine. I gave you that example. You want to say so?
There are so many nutrients
Carnitine is not an essential amino acid.
found in meat products, I mean, red meat, oil meat, seafood, whatever, which you can't find anywhere else.
Like what?
Your essential amino acids.
You get them all on a plant-based diet.
Essential amino acids. You can get all the essential amino acids from plants. Like, here I
Oh, I
am.
love that he said that.
Like it's especially funny coming from this like fucking twig who looks like he barely eats anything. Like I don't know how he explains me being vegan for 14 years and not being dead yet.
Yeah, I know.
Carnitine.
Yeah, well, even if it was carnitine, which we are producing in our body, that's why it's not essential.
Like, it's not.
Let's say, no, let's say, no,
We're gonna let Sanji just finish up.
We also need those nutrients to be present in a bioavailable form.
What do you mean by bioavailable?
The human gut is designed through evolution to digest meat and to absorb all the nutrients from meat. That's what we've been eating for millions of years.
Okay, so let's look at some high-performing athletes then. Are they missing some nutrients? No.
Like again, it's a bizarre statement. Just because even if we were to grant that we evolved to eat meat, that doesn't mean we haven't evolved to also eat plants.
Yeah.
Stupid statement.
So I'm not going to comment on high-performing athletes who we've only known for a couple of years. We need long-term studies, right? Long-term
Absolutely, I agree with that.
observations,
That's an
right?
Right.
So I can only explain to you, I can only tell you my clinical experience.
Right? So you have people come in who are vegans.
I won't say always, I often get people saying, I am a vegan, I was a vegan, now I'm eating meat. I've never come across a person who said, I was always eating meat, now I'm a vegan. All right?
What? Okay, that's
so
great that you don't know any
stupid, man.
vegans. I don't know what the fuck that matters. Like, this guy can barely even fucking speak English. It's weird how they wouldn't have me on the panel, but they invited this guy on.
He was the main reason you weren't coming on, I think. Well, I think Chafee wasn't happy with it, but then that guy really said, no, it wouldn't be fair at all, and yeah.
That's hilarious.
Stupid, no.
Because I'm a vegan. Just last week, I was saying to you earlier, Jacob, that a lady who was a vegan for 30 years came to me saying she needs help. And she's just started eating meat. And she's already feeling better.
Would you say it's okay to start eating humans for those nutrients?
No, I think
That's just false equivalent.
Like again, the double standard. Oh, I knew some person who was vegan and they started eating meat and they felt better. They will reject something like the Harvard Nurses Health Study because, oh, how can we verify dietary questionnaires? But then, oh yeah, I know some guy who told me this and I believe him.
I know. I kind of wish that I made that more clear. So you're going to reject epidemiology and randomized controlled trials, but then you're going to provide a fucking anecdote to back up your claim.
And by the way, you could. There are countless people saying, "Oh, I had heart issues. I was diabetic. I was lethargic, feeling like crap, overweight, and then I went vegan and I improved my health." So I don't know how those.
I wish. Yeah, I could have
matter.
brought up some counter anecdotes. Yeah, I could have provided counter anecdotes to just show that what you're saying is meaningless.
Vegan and a non-human, we're all animals. There is no moral difference. So would you go out and advocate for humans to eat
If we're all
humans?
animal, then you need to subject other animals to that same the moral compass that we are subjected to. Because if we're not different, then they are committing this Holocaust as well. If you're saying, well, how does nature and wildlife?
They're not deliberately murdering.
They are actually. They are deliberately killing our animals so that they.
Survival. I would say in a survival situation, we should be able to kill for our own survival. Whether it's a human or a non-human, for your survival, you need to kill, right? But we're not living in a survival situation.
But what about chimpanzees? They kill small monkeys and gerbils and small deer, in fact, for fun.
Yeah, wild animals also murder their own babies. They rape one another. I don't think we should be basing our morals on what they do out in the wild. It's horrible. I wish it didn't happen, but I don't have any control over that. I have control over what I can do and advocate for animal rights. And we can thrive on a plant-based diet. We've already established that. So what is the justification to mass enslave and holocaust trillions of animals?
So the thing is, the two major point here is no, we don't agree that you can thrive on a plant-based diet for everybody. Some people can do better. You're not going to be optimal. You're not going to be the best that you can be. And many people.
How is that still a justification to murder animals? Even if you can't be optimal, how is it justification to just chop someone's head off?
And second of all, you are ignoring the fact that you kill far more animals and destroy far more.
I'm not ignoring it because I have evidence to show otherwise.
Do you?
Yeah.
Where?
There's plenty of evidence. Jack has it all.
There's really not a lot, but there is one study by Davis. I forget the name of it. I wish I had it for you. I mean, you probably already read it if you looked into the crop death. And even that one itself, which was trying to say that I think it's double the amount killed in plant-based agriculture, but then when actually crunch the numbers and you look at caloric efficiency, it's maybe like 4 to 6 times at minimum. 4 to 6 times more animals are murdered on a animal-based farming system as compared to a plant-based one. So when you look at caloric efficiency,
I think I know which one you're talking about. I think they compare that to chickens, and so I'm talking about large animals, right?
No, I think they're looking at large animals. No, because they've looked at many animals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think
chickens
when you look at cows, right?
And I try
to go to a farm, a veterinary raised farm that these animals are treated well. That's different.
They're not treated well in a slaughterhouse. And you already admit to that.
So pneumatic hammers that quick. So pneumatic hammers that quick.
So a quick murder is okay? If someone put a gun to your head and did it quickly, it's okay?
We're talking about how to harvest animals for food.
Harvest, it's murder. You harvest plants, you don't harvest sentient beings, you murder them.
Sorry, but
Have you seen slaughterhouse footage?
You're killing more sentient beings for growing crops. And also, plants have a peripheral nervous system. They feel and respond to pain. They scream.
They do not have a peripheral nervous system. What the fuck? Show me the anatomy of a fucking cucumber where its peripheral nervous system is.
This is how stupid this guy is. Like,
oh my god,
that's the pinnacle right there.
So now he's a plant rights activist, and he's claiming plants are sentient. Like, this is what he is reduced to justify slaughtering animals. They do not have a nervous system. So that's a complete and utter lie.
When they're hurt, they respond.
So you think they're sentient? You think plants are sentient?
100 years ago, people made that same argument about animals. They said that they don't feel pain the way humans do. It's okay to torture them and be nasty to them. Obviously, we have come forward in our understanding. Now we're coming forward in our understanding.
By the way, if he's going to say plants feel pain, then how does he justify eating animals? Because grass would, even grass would feel pain, according to him.
Yeah, I know.
This is retarded.
Botanical sciences, they scream at it with different vibratory signals. They send out chemical signals. They communicate through their root system. They have a complex system of passing resources and waters throughout entire forest structures. There's a plant, a sentinel plant tree that connects all of these different plants and controls the resources throughout all of them. These are actually very, very, very highly evolved.
But fundamentally, they don't have a central nervous system, therefore they don't have pain receptors.
Is cutting a carrot the same as chopping a pig's head off?
Yeah, being off the question, when it comes to grain-fed versus grass-fed, the majority of cows, are they grain-fed or grass-fed? And grass-fed,
yeah. The majority would be. That's what I'm saying. You both talk about, right? You try to support animal agriculture that produces a more ethical model, and you can certainly do that. But still, the majority of the feed that are given to to animals are not edible by humans.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? So now let's say, going with what you were saying, which I don't support this, I don't believe this, and I don't think there's any evidence to support this. So let's say that more incidental deaths did occur on plant-based diet as compared to an animal-based diet. Let's say that's the case. Would you then support eating humans because less lives will be taken as compared to the incidental deaths?
No, because I'm not looking at it from that metric.
No, I'm saying you wouldn't choose that. So why do you choose other animals?
What I'm saying is I'm looking at this from a nutritional standpoint. So the thing is that I'm not arguing from an ethical standpoint. I'm arguing from a nutritional standpoint because I'm a doctor and I want to have the best nutrition for my patients because it makes a massive difference. This is not a small thing. And maybe some people can be healthy, and most people cannot. And so we're seeing the largest rise in non-communicable chronic diseases that has ever happened in human history. And so that is something that I feel strongly about from a health standpoint. The ethical discussion is one that's important. I think that's important to have. However, I think that the nutritional side of things is paramount.
Yeah, so he's clearly uncomfortable debating ethics, like you've reduced him to being a plants rights activist. So yes. He clearly wants to steer well away from that because he knows he doesn't have an argument.
Yeah, and that host that did interrupt just then, I thought it was not a good thing, but I wish we kind of went along with that because he then just agreed that yes, we feed them grass and grain. So are you a plants right activist or not?
Yeah.
Like, what about the grain and the grass that you're feeding to all these cows?
Yeah, none of these ideas are like flow with one another, and he's kind of contradicting himself. He's like, oh, it's such a tragedy that all these plants are dying. Well, if he has a problem with all these plants dying, then why is he in support of animal agriculture, which is only going to result in more plant deaths?
Away from the ethical conversation.
But that's my point, because I'm not making an ethical claim.
But I was asking you a question, you couldn't answer it. And I want to go back to this question earlier. It's just like, what trait, again, a non-human animal's lacking that allows you to force them into slaughterhouses, but not humans? What are they lacking? How can you justify it for non-humans, but you wouldn't justify it for humans?
The thing is, I don't think you're being consistent.
No, I just want to know your answer.
There's a difference. There is a difference.
What's the difference? That's what I'm asking.
Well, the fact that we can even have this conversation.
Yes, that's what you're asking him. What is the difference? So yes, we acknowledge that there's a difference. He's asking you what you think the difference is.
Is the difference. The fact that we can moralize and discuss the ethics involved in this is a big...
So if there's a mentally disabled human right here and they couldn't have this conversation, you would justify something.
Okay, so he named the trait as being like mentally capable of having moral agency, I'm assuming. Something like that. And then the obvious reductio is somebody who's mentally disabled who can't.
So what is it?
Because humans in general are capable of this sort of thing. And so that we're putting ourselves we are putting ourselves on a pedestal, but that's why. And animals have no bearing or regard for the torture and suffering of the animals that they eat. They typically eat them alive. They're ripping them apart. They're ripping their guts out and eating their organs as they're still alive.
Okay, so he appealed to species normality. So because the majority of humans are not mentally disabled, therefore we should still protect mentally disabled people. Okay, well, if 51% of the human race was mentally disabled, would it be okay to then kill mentally disabled humans? The appeal to species normality is also strange too, because if you're going to name the trait as being mentally disabled, I don't know how that means you can make a double standard when it comes to marginal cases. If that's the standard you're going to go by, then what does species normality matter?
Well, you could just say, like, what if we forcibly bred mentally disabled humans to the point that they represented a large population of humans? Would you then justify slaughtering them?
Yeah. If we did have an industry that was breeding mentally disabled humans, we could have a majority of the human species that's mentally disabled. Therefore, based on a species normality argument, that would be ethical. And then he made up a weird point that's really strange. Well, animals will rip apart other animals while they're totally alive. So you have a problem with killing animals, but you kill animals. If he's recognizing there's a moral issue here, but then he does it anyway.
I know.
I don't look at this one. I just killed everything. Like Jesus.
That's why we don't derive our morals from.
No, but that's my point.
So the trait for you.
No, but we are different because we're different in that regard too. Because we can look at that and say, I don't want that animal to suffer.
Yeah,
but I can still understand that that this is optimal nutrition. So that's the thing. We are different.
So you're saying the trait is because we can communicate. That's why it's not okay. So what is the trait that allows you to do it to non-human animals but not humans? What trait is it?
What I just described.
All right, I think we're going in circles here. I've got a question, a yes or no question for both of you guys.
You should have just told him to shut up.
I know.
So I wouldn't care about being respectful to, the hosts. You're having a debate, and if they butt in, they can go fuck themselves. If they don't want to invite you back on, whatever. Like, you should just make sure you win every battle you have. So, yeah, if you're in the situation, say, well, no, we're not done discussing this yet. He hasn't really answered the question, and just tell him to shut up.
Yeah.
We are land-dwelling animals on this planet Earth, right? We can all agree, I think. Are you guys for planet Earth?
What do you mean by that, sir?
Are you for the planet's sustainability?
Oh, absolutely.
You guys? 100%? Yes. What, in your eyes, is the thing that's deteriorating this planet's sustainability for the future? in a minute?
Animal agriculture.
I'm not really an environmental scientist, but I can touch on what I do know. There are many factors: greenhouse gas emissions, the destruction of natural lands, all of which do come from animal agriculture, not just from animal agriculture. It's a big contributor, transport system, etc., etc. But yeah, I mean, there's probably many things that are destroying the environment. I'm not an environmental scientist, so I can't say exactly.
Right. In a diet standpoint for single crop agriculture, done some reading on this recently, and had a discussion with yourselves. I wanted to know, is there a way to continue these crops going, but also have a regenerative system in place as well? Because the use of animals to resoil the topsoil, the fertile soil that's on top that you guys grow, not you guys obviously, but the people grow their single crops from, is obviously being tillaged and absolutely decimated. Is there a way to rejuvenate that? In your eyes, I know you're not a scientist and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways of polycultures and stuff like that. I did do a little bit of study into permacultures, which is looking into all the most sustainable ways in which you can do so. And animals do often come into the process of a sustainable agriculture system, but that doesn't have to be enslaved animals, right? It can come from wild animals as well. If we create ecosystems that bring in wild animals into that cycle to provide manure and whatnot, as well as polycultures. I mean, there are many veganic ways of farming. You study that in permaculture. You can do it veganically. You can do it with animals, but I would never advocate for one that involves the enslavement and then eventual murder of animals. So we don't have to.
Is putting a fence around animals enslavement?
It's not necessarily the fence around them, it's actually the idea that you are breeding them into existence forcibly for the sole purpose of commodifying them and consuming their bodies. In the same way that, yes, you can put a fence around a human, but that's not necessarily the slavery part, it's the actual forced breeding of them and using them to make money off them that we have an issue with.
Right, okay. Yeah, it's an interesting line of questioning when you think that animals still need to be used to regenerate soil.
I don't say they need to be, I'm saying they can benefit and it can come from wild animals, but it's not essential.
Did you do any studies or anything? Well, maybe not.
I'm not an environmental study. I did a little bit of study. I have a garden. You don't need to be, you can compost and get topsoil without having animal products put into that. You can just compost scraps from inside your house, or you can do it on a mass scale as well. I mean, I'm not an environmental scientist, but I do know from what I have seen is that wild animal products.
Mike Donatillers, rank these car brands from best to worst: Toyota, Honda, Ford, Nissan, BMW. Best to worst: Toyota, Honda, Ford, BMW, and Nissan. That would be my opinion. Thanks for that donation, Mike.
Can be a part of that. Ideally, not from enslaved animals, which definitely doesn't have to be the case. You can do it with animals as well. There's veganic farms out there as well.
Do you guys think there's a right way to farm, and if so, to single crop agriculture go against that?
Well, I think the massive monocropping does cause quite a lot of destruction. I mean, it almost caused a second Sahara Desert to form in the middle of America. It was the Dust Bowl. We were doing this massive crop, rows of crops and tillers, and the wind would blow away all the topsoil and wash away all the topsoil and the rain and things like that, and wash it all the way down to nothing. It had no topsoil. And that was a time when people first started colonizing North America. The topsoil was something like 12 to 20 feet deep or something like that. So these sorts of practices actually do necessarily destroy the ecosystem. You necessarily have to just kill every plant and every animal living in that ecosystem. They're gone now. You till up the soil, you lose 27.5 billion tons of topsoil every single year based on our current farming practices. And we changed our farming practices during the Dust Bowl. We figured out this was from that crop. This is why you normally see sort of scallop patterns to crops. So not just one big row for 6 months, and that's held, but you still lose a lot of this stuff. And so losing 27.5 billion tons of topsoil, I think that was 2017 statistic. That's an area the size of Kentucky every year. It takes about 500 years to grow a centimeter of topsoil. Right. So that's a very limited resource that can be gone. It's been estimated from different environmental scientists that we may only have about 50 growing cycles left on Earth, and then we've completely exhausted the capacity for our arable land to produce viable crops. We're using a lot of petrochemicals. These have specific minerals and nutrients that help crops grow, but they're lacking in sufficient micronutrients like selenium and other sorts of things that we do require. Now it's just getting more and more depleted in the soil. So
So this is false. Soils aren't becoming more and more depleted. That's just a big myth that's going on. And we use nitrogen enrichment for fertilizer as well. So this is just all bullshit. He's making it seem as though, we're only going to be able to farm plants for another 50 years and then we'll all die. It doesn't make any sense.
Is that what he's trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody else donated. You can hear these, right?
Do these guys not feel retarded when they resort to claiming plants feel pain and scream? Lamau. By their logic, bacteria are sentient too because they react to stimuli.
You can't hear that?
No, can't hear.
Okay. Do these guys not feel retarded when they resort to claiming plants feel pain and scream? LMAO, by their logic, bacteria are sentient too because they react to stimuli. Yeah, a lot of people, he knows he's being retarded. That's why he tried to dodge the ethical debate as much as he possibly could. That was his last Hail Mary. Oh, well, plants feel pain too. And yeah, he's mixing up intelligence and sentience. Intelligence, an aspect of intelligence is being able to react to stimuli. That doesn't mean you're sentient. Sentience is being able to have a subjective experience. It's not just a simple act of reacting to stimuli, but yeah, they're fucking retarded. Thanks for the donation, PP.
And that's another reason why different industries are pushing this sort of thing, supporting going plant-based, because the massive oil conglomerates, they benefit massively from plant agriculture because of the petrochemicals. Because if you don't have animals have to use petrochemicals, and they're inferior in a lot of ways as well. For this massive revenue, you certainly have a garden and do things much better. And if people were able to do that, that's going to be much better for the environment. But they're trying to go against that too. There was a report that came out that said you having your own garden produces 5 times the amount of greenhouse gases than just buying it from the store. It was just a fraud right there. But they're trying to get people away from doing that. As far as greenhouse gas emission goes, animal agriculture in America, I think, accounts for less than 3% of the emissions in America. And
yeah, that's not true. If you look at, so I think he's getting some of his data from a EPA statistic. If you look at the actual EPA data, enteric emissions alone account for about 5%. So it's literally mathematically impossible. How could total emissions be lower than enteric emissions alone?
Mm-hmm. And for cows specifically, I think it's less than 1 or 2%. It's very small. And crop agriculture, with everything sort of taken into consideration, is more like 7-8%. The medical establishment, just hospitals and so on, is like 12%. And then you're looking at different sorts of things. We're talking about deforestation for livestock. I don't agree with that. I don't think you should do that. But we do that for plant agriculture as well. 55% of Borneo's rainforests have been completely destroyed and taken away for palm seed oil crops. And
yeah, and that's to feed animals.
Yeah. They replace plants with plants, so it's the same. Well, it's not the same. You've killed all the orangutans, you've killed all the pythons, you've killed all the animals, you've completely destroyed this habitat. And now you have a monocrop, which is not an ecosystem. It's not a healthy, diverse ecosystem. It's one plant. All those animals are dead. All those plants are dead. And now you planted your crop, and those animals that come in and mess with your crop, they get shot. So, that's in that same regard, that's an immoral justification for growing your food too. If you have deer that come on your property and pigs that come onto your property and kangaroos that come onto your property and they get shot, they get trapped, they get poisoned, they get killed in order to protect that commodity, that crop. So it's much more complex than just surface picture.
So you would say that you're a meat-eating vegan?
I do think if you do this properly, you will amount to less animal suffering and death and less environmental impact. In fact, you could improve the environment greatly by doing this.
If a vegan diet did sustain ultimately,
yeah, so all completely false. No evidence for his claims. He only.
I have
referenced,
to admit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say I have to admit I was starting to zone out a bit at this because I was just like, there is just so much misinformation coming out of his mouth right now. I'm like, I'm going to have to leave a lot of this to just be for the viewers to just look, for us to debunk it in post, because like, what am I meant to do sitting there when he's just spouted out a whole bunch of bullshit and the hosts are just going to be taking control at this point? But I know I still probably could have done better at this point.
Yeah, so like the misinformation was just insane. So he has no evidence for his claims. So like the big main claim there was that you're gonna kill less animals. No evidence for his claim. He only referenced the one Archer study that's been debunked a million times. Nobody takes it seriously. He overcalculated mouse deaths, and that would only apply to Australia too. So no, you're not going to reduce carbon emissions. You're going to increase them. You can look at like the UN data, the FAO, WWF. They've all shown that animal agriculture is responsible for about 30% of worldwide emissions. You're going to kill far more animals, roughly 5 times as many animals than if you ate plants. So just all bullshit.
Yeah. In the best way, say if I had the vitamin B12 at an active level, would you be a vegan?
So the thing is that the only reason I eat the way I eat is because biologically this is our optimal diet and nutrition, and that's what I care about, is optimal health for myself as well as my patients. That's my main crux on this. Obviously there are more ethical values that come into this, but that is my number one issue here.
And if there was no cruelty or suffering, would you guys eat meat?
How can there not be cruelty or suffering to eat someone's body?
Fallacy world. Like they just chose to die. Like they came to your property and then they just kill themselves.
Or just died old age.
And you had nothing else to eat.
Just like I wouldn't eat a dead human's body, I wouldn't eat a non-human's body. No.
If meat grew on trees?
No need to when there's abundance of
If he wants to eat them, yeah, absolutely. No sentient being had to be exploited and do small endocasts.
Are you guys funded by any vegan organizations? No. What about you? Are you funded by any meat organizations? No.
No, I mean the only affiliations I have would be like my sponsor for my podcast would be like the Carnivores, like a meat-based bar. That's not like an industry. That's a mom and pop product.
Right. I mean, Joe Rogan's a big meat proponent. If you had a message for him, what would you guys say to him?
If you're not vegan, you're an animal abuser, and you have a moral obligation to stop paying for animals to be enslaved, raped, tortured, abused, and murdered.
So you think Joe Rogan's torturing animals?
Yeah, if you're not vegan, it's a fact that you're torturing, enslaving, abusing, and murdering animals.
You can see it for yourself in the documentary Dominion. It just exposes exactly what happens in animal agricultural practices, specifically here in Australia. All RSPCA approved, all quote-unquote humane certified, but it's the most horrible things that we've ever seen occur to any sentient being, and that's exactly why we're here speaking about it today.
All right, well...
Look, I don't disagree with you that there are things that need to be improved, and when people abuse animals, I think that's sick. I think that we have, especially if we're raising these things that you look it for our food and consumption, we have a moral obligation to protect them, care for them, protect them from harm, heal them when they're sick, and then give them as clean, quick, and painless a death as possible. And that's what we're doing, which is, I think, hard to live, big step up from what we used to be doing for the last 2 million years, which is killing these things.
So they wouldn't justify that for humans, dogs, cats, any other animal that we care for. Just because it's painless doesn't mean it's right. I could painlessly shoot you in the head right now, and I wouldn't do it because I wouldn't want to steal your life from you. And I don't think we should be stealing lives from non-human animals as well, especially when it's completely unnecessary.
Well, I don't agree that it is unnecessary. That's the thing. Look, I don't agree with I don't disagree with your standpoint, and you obviously feel very strongly about this, and I absolutely with you on that. I think it's abhorrent that we have to kill something for us to live, but I think that is the reality, and I think that to be optimal and to be as healthy as we can be from a doctor.
So he made two different claims there. He said it's horrible that we have to kill something to live. So he's suggesting, like heavily implying there that if we don't kill animals, we'll die. Even though he's gone back and forth this whole debate saying we need to kill animals to live. And then he says, oh no, we just need to kill animals to be optimally healthy. So, and then he said, well, we need this to be optimally healthy. So he's making two different statements there that contradict one another. One, we need to kill animals to be optimally healthy, and then two, we need to kill animals to live. Those are two completely separate statements.
And hasn't provided any data to support. Yeah, and he hasn't provided any data to support that you need it to be optimal, and he hasn't defined what optimal is. So I wish I had asked that, but yeah.
Point of view, we've just seen a lot of human suffering when people aren't.
So you would say then, essentially just based on what you said, that if it wasn't necessary to consume animal products, you would say it would be a more ethical option based then?
Well, I guess that depends on how you look at plants, because I think that plants are definitely not happy for us to eat.
Would you be open to provide your blood to do things that
Absolutely. I do it regularly anyway.
You guys would do good for that?
Maybe every 6 months, yeah.
I feel very weird wearing a red suit asking for your blood.
Only if likewise. Only if it goes both ways. Only if it goes both ways.
Would you be open?
I just did my bloods. I have them.
You have them, and they're looking good?
Yeah.
I'll have to get mine done, and then I'll send it across, and Tash can do the same too if he wants to.
Well, cool.
It'd be cool to compare it.
But I think that would give us a good container to compare.
I wonder if Chafee's actually done blood work on his YouTube channel. Let me take a look.
That'd be interesting.
Anthony Chafee. Blood work. Truth about cholesterol, heart disease. I don't know if he did his own personal blood work here. No, it doesn't look like he brought it up.
Very well versed. That or his actual.
Yeah, I'm assuming he'd probably have sky-high cholesterol because he just eats like shit.
Yeah, and then he would justify it.
He can thrive.
Yeah, he would justify it by saying, well, high cholesterol is actually good for you or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying this would be very poor evidence for anybody to look at both
well,
ways.
you're a living example. You're
absolutely. But from the perspective of science, let's say mine was much better than his, or vice versa. Even if mine was better than Chafee's, I wouldn't say that's good evidence. That's why we look at high quality.
It would just be for interest, really. But there's one study that actually did a large population examination between what we are talking about from a nutrition standpoint, which is whole food, meat, animal-based diet, whole food, plant-based diet, which is the Maasai and the Akikuyu. Their neighbors back in the 1920s, culminated in 1930. They published 1931. There's an examination done by the British. They took multiple years. They looked at thousands and thousands and thousands of different people and all sorts of different aspects. So the Maasai traditionally would eat milk, molecular cattle, and meat.
So he's mentioning the Maasai tribe. Their average life expectancy is 39, and if you adjust for infant mortality, their average life expectancy is 42. So he's claiming, oh, this is such a healthy population of people eating milk and meat and blood. They live to about 42 on average if you ignore infant deaths. So yeah, very healthy.
So I want to preface this by saying I didn't know much about this study or these population groups at all. So it's what am I meant to comment on here? But in post, now that I do know more about it, I could have said a lot more, like what you just said then. And then the tribe, he compares it to that of the plant-based tribe. I'm pretty sure that they're reported just eating basically millets and grains. Like that's literally it, as if that's meant to be some type of example for how you can thrive on a plant-based diet. It's literally an example of a bad diet on a plant-based. Yeah, so I wish I knew more because this gets so fucking boring.
Yeah, like you'll learn a lot doing these debates. You're going to be in situations where you don't know about a certain topic, or you'll be thrown like some weird obscure study and you only know after the fact, but you eventually like slowly build up a repertoire of information to debunk idiots like this.
The women would eat more milk and some meat and blood, and the warrior caste men would eat a lot more blood and a lot more meat. And then the Akikuyu, who were alive at the same time, in the same area, the same conditions, and interbred with the Maasai, so similar genetic populations, they were largely plant-based, and men eating a lot more grains and millet seeds, and the women eating both grains, but also a wider range of leafy greens and things like that. And the Maasai actually had started including some grains at that point as well, whereas traditionally they wouldn't have, and that's continued on in the last century, and they've actually gotten worse from a health perspective. They looked at their health, they looked at official records at hospitals, they looked at clinics, but they also, because obviously not everyone has access to these, they went from village to village to village to village to village with doctors and checking and examining for different health outcomes. They found that Maasai were far and away more healthy. They were on average, the adult male Maasai were on average 5 inches taller, 23 pounds heavier, lean body mass, 50% stronger, better dentition, better teeth development, facial development, and much healthier. So they had a stratified health of health outcomes. The Akikuyu men were the least healthy. The Akikuyu women were more healthy. They had a bit more of a diverse vegetarian diet. The Maasai women were healthier still, were far healthier. The Maasai men were the healthiest out of the whole population. They had more meat and blood because they had to fight lions with sticks to defend their cattle. They looked at a prison population at the time between the Maasai and the Akikuyu, and they found the Maasai were very nutritionally replete and that the Akikuyu were not. And they found that the
Yeah, so this is an admission that they're not following a good plant-based diet. So how is this a fair comparison? You're comparing a nutritionally complete diet to a non-nutritionally complete diet. So like,
Literally,
what point are you making that, yeah, if you don't eat properly, you're going to be unhealthy?
Yeah, I could have at least just said that. Like, it sounds like they were not eating a healthy diet, to say the least.
He literally admitted it. Like,
he just said that. Yeah.
Yeah, he literally just said that. So like, what point is he trying to make?
You had multiple nutritional deficiencies. Now I'm sure that they didn't know about all the different nutrients that we know about now, so they couldn't replace all of them, but they replaced the ones that they saw, and that didn't actually improve their health outcomes and their infectious disease rates and all these sorts of things, which were much higher. It wasn't until they replaced some of the plants with meat, actually gave them meat, that their health started to improve from that point of view. So that was a very good study because we're comparing the two populations that we're talking about, and even when you're replacing the nutrients and supplements, and granted they didn't necessarily know all the supplements we know about now, they still didn't improve their health all the way. So that's a better study. It's still not good, it's still not great, but at least it's comparing the two populations that we're discussing. And then you look at later studies looking at the health of the Maasai in the 70s. They started developing more heart disease. Not a single mention of heart disease in the Maasai.
Anthony and Sanjeev, when it comes to nutrition in grain-fed cows, factory farmed versus grass-pastured, is there a difference in nutrition in these animals? Is there any studies that you've heard of?
No, it's not even studies. I mean, it's just you have independent sort of labs testing these things, and certainly in some cases, I mean, I don't know of any studies looking at grass-fed finished regeneratively.
There's virtually zero nutritional difference between grass and grain-fed cattle. There's a slight difference in the balance of omega-6 and omega-3 fats, but it's only minor. But it's pretty much identical.
We've raised sort of practices in general looking at a lot of these things, but I do know individual ranchers who have sent their beef off for examination, or their eggs off for examination, and you compare this to the USDA averages that they have for the average sort of thing. And yeah,
so a lot of the time you're comparing plant-based versus to grass-fed, the best for premium meats that are out in the field eating grass versus a factory farm eating use that was waste that wouldn't even be eaten. Surely the animal would have very little nutrition.
It's waste for us. Well, it's just fiber, right?
Well, I heard it was like sawdust, cotton meal, soy, corn, the scraps, but still farmed.
It's basically the body of the plant as opposed to the grain.
The leftovers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that we don't have a use for it, and so we sell farmers to
the majority of the meat that we see in supermarkets like Woolworths, Side Shed, Coles is all factory farmed crap, so to speak.
It's crap, but it does have less micronutrients than a grass-fed finished, regeneratively raised cattle, because you can be grass-fed finished and not regeneratively raised. It's actually not as nutritious as the regenerative process, because when you're moving animals around as if they're migrating around an area that actually is better for the soil.
Well, would you be for closing down factory farms like completely due to the obviously
if you could? I mean, the thing is that you wouldn't be able to do it overnight. But yeah, I don't like the idea of especially like pigs and things like that. It's horrible. A lot of these things, like big massive mills, are just sort of stuck in these pens and stuff fed. That's a terrible existence. I don't agree with that. And so I'm 100% on their side on that. I think that you can do this in better ways that are better for the animal and still provide us optimal nutrition. And while some people can do very well, eating predominantly, if not exclusively, plants, and as long as they take supplements, not everyone can. And we have a lot of patients who get very sick. The vast majority of my followers on YouTube and Instagram were vegans and vegetarians that were wanting their health steadily got worse and worse and worse. And so they finally said, okay, this is a problem. I need.
And they were trying things like supplementation and everything.
Yeah. And so I have these stories every day, but literally the vast majority.
Is there a genetic component? Like some people can be vegan, some people can't. Is there like any difference in people's?
Yeah, well, very interesting. Yeah, so, I mean, yes, there would be people that would genetically be better able to do that. There's a guy named what's his name? Anyway, he does a lot of genetic testing, things like that. He said that. He said there's a percentage of people that just cannot eat vegan because of these certain enzymes. They can't break down certain things as well as others. But even just
yeah. So again, that's a bullshit claim. Show me any evidence of this. There's no genetic testing that you can have done that can prove somebody can't eat a plant-based diet. There's no known disease or condition that would prevent you from eating exclusively plants.
The example that I used earlier of carnitine. Carnitine is considered a non-essential amino acid, but that's not true. It is an essential amino acid for 30% of humanity.
That is also bullshit. 30% of people are not incapable of producing carnitine.
A lot of people, so that's 1/3 nearly of the population of the Earth cannot make their own carnitine to a sufficient supply.
But you can buy that by the kilo.
That's just supplementation, right? But that's the thing. What's the issue with that?
If those 30% of people need to take supplements,
so I don't have a problem with supplementation. First of all, we just like the British probably didn't know all the things you need to supplement with back in the 20s. We probably don't now either. I mean, there are studies that come out that there are like thousands of essential micronutrients that we don't even have names for. So,
name one. Like what? There's thousands of micronutrients in red meat we don't have a name for. Name one. Show me one example.
Literally, it's like, how do you know this?
This guy's an idiot.
That example I gave with the elemental diet, where it's a shakes all the macro micros that we know of. I have patients that go on these things, and they say they can make it about 3-4 weeks, and they start feeling really unwell because it's obviously missing something that we don't know about. But then they go on a just a meat diet. The Crohn stays in remission, the rheumatoid arthritis stays in remission, and they're losing.
Well, there we go. He's making another assumption. Somebody didn't feel well eating this particular diet, but then they ate another diet. Clearly, there's a nutrient that's missing. Why would you make that assumption? Could be a variety of reasons why somebody is experiencing a certain symptom.
Exactly. It's like you're just seeing one solution to a particular problem, but you're not realizing that there's multiple solutions to a problem that you're not even looking at. You're just saying, okay, let's just give you all meat and see if that improves. And then they see an improvement. But it's like, what did you fix here? Why could that not be fixed in any other way, the ideally vegan way? It's just silly. He's just seeing things black and white. And unfortunately, most people watching this aren't very smart, unfortunately, when it comes to science. And they're not going to see that, and they're just going to see his anecdote as being high quality evidence, and that's just a shame. It's a real shame.
This claim that there's nutrients we don't know of is just stupid.
Versus their diabetes, and they're feeling better. We have that in clinical trials.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with clients too as nutritionists that have done the exact same plant-based with the plant-based alternative instead.
Yeah.
So you could do it either or.
Well, but the thing, certainly, if you're eliminating processed crap and sugar and all these other things that we would all agree that's not good, that you're going to improve. And a lot of people, that's enough. But we both have a lot of patients that have been whole food, plant-based, not eating the processed garbage, and are still getting sick. And then you remove the plants, and then you're better. So the problem is, it's not just nutrition.
It's an elimination diet. That can be done both ways.
Well, yeah, but you can't eliminate all the plants on a plant-based diet, and sometimes we need that. And so,
but often in an elimination case, it's often maybe one or a few plant foods that could have been triggering the issues, right? Potentially. So that's why removing it all, you might see some benefits, but you might have just removed that one needle in the haystack. So it's not saying that all plant foods are bad.
But some people can't add anything back in. Some people, even when they've had pork that's been factory farmed, because they're eating fed things that they're not designed to eat either, they're not able to filter out these different toxins, and they have a much higher proportion of linoleic acid than they would normal.
So again, the problem here is he's just making anecdotal claims. Oh, I know a guy who felt better not eating any plants, so therefore, clearly, animal-based diet's better for your health. It's just ridiculous. Like, you could make the same claim again. Oh, I've seen so many people on the carnivore diet or who ate meat who started eating lots of fruits and vegetables and cut out the meat and felt so much better. Like, what does any of that matter?
Like they get autoimmune flares and sick from eating that, so they can't even do that. So there are people that are actually very sensitive, and it's not as uncommon as people may believe. We see this quite a lot, and so if you can get that, and you can be healthy eating a plant-based diet or using supplements and all these sorts of things, I have no problem with that. So the thing is, I don't have a moral argument saying that everyone has to eat this way. I don't think that. I think that this is just something that is necessary for many people, and that we should at least understand about the nutrition side of things. I think the ethical and moral side of things is a very important topic and discussion. My main issue is, as a doctor, what's going to help my patients. And so if I have a patient that wants to eat plant-based, great, I'm going to support them as much as I can. But if they're having health issues and they're having problems and they're having autoimmunity, and I can see that they're doing a very well-structured, well-designed plant-based diet with all these supplements, something else needs to change. You need to start eliminating these things out. And I tell them, look, if you want to start including things back in, give it 30 days, wash this stuff out of your system, and you try adding things back in. That's fine if they want to do that. Quite often when they do, they don't feel as good. They say, I actually feel best when I'm only eating meat. And so that's my main thing. It's just about the health. And we have to again look at things from a moral and ethical point of view down the line as well. Is it moral and ethical to subject a child to autism when it didn't need to before? This brain doesn't develop.
So he's literally claiming veganism causes autism. You should have called him out here. Like, can you show us the data indicating that veganism causes autism in children? Like, this is...
did he just mention the carnitine just then again?
Yeah. He was basically, like, that's what he's suggesting, that if you're vegan, it's going to trigger autism in children. Like, that is a crazy, wild fucking claim.
Wow.
Yeah, you should have called him out on that, but, what can you do?
Yeah, I guess I didn't quite take that in, or maybe I can't remember what I said after that.
It can be hard.
Said the same carnitine argument.
Like, especially when he's blabbing about fucking horseshit, it can be hard to pick it up. But he literally just claimed veganism causes autism in children.
Yes,
properly, and now they have permanent brain damage for the rest of it.
Is there direct evidence that links plant-based diet to autism?
So he even asked. He actually picked that up.
No, this guy wasn't too bad. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I know. I remember that now. Yeah,
that's funny.
There is that study from Texas A&M that showed carnitine deficiency. So the thing is that that's not saying that plant-based diet causes that. That's saying that.
Texas A&M carnitine deficiency autism. So research hints at nutritional strategy for reducing autism risk. Supplement called carnitine taken during pregnancy could protect the baby from developing a certain type of autism. Folic acid has been touted as an important supplement for women childbearing age for its ability to prevent defects in the baby's developing brain and spinal cord. That's funny too. That could have been something you could have mentioned, because carnivore diets are typically deficient in folate, and I actually know some carnivore dieters. Michaela Peterson, she was taking folate injections during her pregnancy because she was worried about her baby having birth defects. So if he's going to be so concerned about this, like, why didn't he mention folate deficiency risk in carnivore dieters?
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, folic acid is considered so important that it's added as a supplement to breads, pastas, rice, and cereals to help ensure that women are exposed to sufficient amounts of this nutrient before they're pregnant. Soon, another prenatal supplement could protect against certain type of autism. According to research published today in the journal Cell Reports, the supplement is called carnitine, and it is already available in the supermarket. Carnitine, which is the body can manufacture itself or extract from dietary sources, is required for transport of fatty acids into mitochondria, the compartment within the cell that converts these fats into energy. Previous studies have shown that inherited mutations in a gene called TMLHE that is required for carnitine biosynthesis are strongly associated with risk of development of autism spectrum disorders, but the basis for the association has been unclear until now. Latest findings show that genetic defects in the body's ability to manufacture carnitine might be associated with increased risk of autism because carnitine deficiency interferes with the body's normal processes by which neural stem cells promote and organize. So he might be onto something there, but they recommend carnitine supplementation. So, okay, just supplement carnitine. Why is this? Why do you need to?
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with plant-based diet.
Yeah.
Carnitine deficiency can cause that, and
it's a commonality of a link. So there could be a lot of things combined.
And he just says there's an actual. Yeah, he just said like a definitive statement that it can do it, but they're not. It doesn't seem clear yet. It's just that there could be a reason to do so, but further studies need to be made.
Yeah, but like this is an argument to eat steak. This is an argument to maybe take a carnitine supplement.
Vegetarian population because they're not taking in foodstuffs that contain carnitine. Now, if you knew that your kid was carnitine deficient, could you supplement with carnitine? Sure. Are they getting that from an animal source? Probably. So it would be technically vegan, but you could technically do that. But that is.
Is there a difference in like development of a child's brain having carnitine with supplement versus an animal-based product?
I don't know if there's ever been a study on that, but the main thing is just having carnitine. The other thing is that obviously when you're eating whole foods, which is for both making this a good thing to do is eat whole food, you get a lot of other things with the carnitine. And when you're eating meat, you're not bringing in other things as well. And the ketogenic diet is the most rigorously studied diet in the world. It's really the only one. They have experimental, randomized controlled trials, interventional trials, meta-analyses of randomized controlled trials, all these other sorts of things, and showing for looking at specific health outcomes and markers. It would show massive benefit from this. And so you could probably do the vegetarian approach to a ketogenic diet, so it's much more difficult. And those studies don't really exist for these health outcomes. So they're generally high-fat, meat-based ketogenic diets are showing these beneficial health outcomes in experimental trials, including with autism. And there are treatment groups around the world. There are papers that are published in the literature.
I don't know of any diet trials on ketogenic diets for treatment of autism spectrum disorders. I've never personally heard of this. I know for treating epilepsy, it's a big thing, but children on ketogenic diets have massively increased risk of kidney stones. I think it's something like 5,000 times higher, and they're not well tolerated. That's why they have medications to treat these sorts of things.
We're going back 10 years or so, talking about how a ketogenic diet is a very good treatment modality for autism, and there are people that are using this, affecting this in a patient population all over the world now, and there are people that are doing this, they're just coming across this on their own right and doing it and finding as a plans they improve massively. Harvard professor of psychiatry, Chris Palmer, has a whole chapter in his book Brain Energy discussing this, that a leading cause of autism is misdevelopment and misproduction of mitochondria in the brain, which makes your neurons not develop properly and not function properly. Carnitine is essential for mitochondrial function, and so if you
has nothing to do with a meat-based diet, you can take a supplement.
Make carnitine or don't make an insufficient supply, you're not getting it from your diet, as you're being raised on a vegan vegetarian diet, you're going to have a paucity of carnitine and you're going to suffer from this. But also eating carbohydrates, having high insulin, that's
like, by the way, most people eat fucking meat. So like what is he talking about? This seems to be affecting most people who are eating meat. So like the amount of carnitine you would have to get in order to alleviate the symptom would have to be massive. Like you'd probably have to be eating like a fuck ton of steak every single fucking day, which is not really practical for most people. So why wouldn't you just be recommending a fucking supplement?
Presses autophagy.
Yeah, so you could ask the question, what percentage of autism being studied in any of this research that he's talking about, if it even exists, are vegan or have plant-based parents or plant-based kids? Most of them are not. So most of them are literally getting a carnitine source because they're eating flesh. So what point is he trying to make?
Yeah, and the guy asked him, is there any link between vegan diets and autism? And he kind of dodged the question and he just went on about creatine again.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to think vegan diets are actually increasing risk of autism.
And production of mitochondria as well as other cells. And so when you do that, you suppress your body's ability to make more mitochondria, and you suppress the function and action of those mitochondria. When you go into a ketogenic diet, studies have shown that in 3-4 months you have 4 times the number of mitochondria, and they're 4 times as effective. So in children, if you can put them on this sort of diet early on, you can get the carnitine and all the essential nutrients, and we may not even know about. So generally you have to eat meat to know about all these things. And we're assuming that some things are non-essential, like carnitine, when actually they are essential for a third of the population.
By the way, he's saying, oh, there's all these nutrients in meat we don't know about. Couldn't you say the same thing about plants? Well, there's all these nutrients in plants we don't know about, so you have to eat plants, or else you could be missing out on certain nutrients.
Literally, it goes both ways again.
Yeah, fucking idiot.
We're seeing people reverse autism clinically and experimentally in study populations.
Reverse autism, like level 3, like intense autism?
Yeah, and it can at least improve it dramatically.
Wow.
And so can it undo all the damage of misdevelopment? Depends on how early you get it.
Yeah. But Anthony, to conclude, if you could just say one thing to Tash and Jack that you wish they just got, they just understood beyond all the layers of beliefs, ideologies, or whatever layers are there from seeing information you're trying to communicate, what would that message be? Just a summary of that message.
Well, I think I'd just like to communicate the common ground that we have. Like, I completely sympathize with your point of view. This is a nasty thing to do. I agree it's a nasty thing to do. But I don't disagree with that. We're going back and forth. But I do agree with you. It's horrible that animals have to die for us to live. But I do think that we do need to eat them. I do think that it's essential. And I do think that it's especially...
Yeah, so he's making a claim that if you don't eat meat, you'll die again, which is fucking ridiculous. I don't know how I'm not dead yet.
Essential for optimal health. We can suffer, we can be ill, but I don't think that we can be optimal. I don't think that everyone can be optimal.
And then he changed his stance again. Oh, well, you need meat to be optimal. Like, yeah, you can live on a vegan diet, but you won't be optimal health.
Cool. So you'll be sick, children not have them develop properly and not have elderly people and people that are adults age ungracefully and get Alzheimer's and dementia and horrible diseases and die decades early after decades of disease. I don't think that's moral or ethical either. The main thing that I just want to sort of impart is that plants aren't just nutritional sources. They don't want to die either. They have robust defenses, and even edible plants have extremely robust defenses that are toxic in nature and that they can harm us. So we're not just getting the nutrients, and as you said, they're not all available. We can't access all of these things as well. They have anti-nutrients that block out the absorption and utilization of different nutrients as well. There's studies showing that giving people spinach in the 1950s had a high calcium content, actually lowered people's calcium levels because calcium wasn't bioavailable, and then they had oxalates which stripped out the available calcium in their serum. So we need to take these things in context. If people want to include plants in their diet, I'm all for that. I'm all about, I'm very libertarian in the sense that I want people to be able to make decisions in their own life that they think is best for them. So I don't want people eating a carnivore diet because I eat a carnivore diet. I just want them to understand that it's not harmful. It doesn't cause disease. It doesn't cause heart disease. It doesn't cause cancer, and that
this guy's been yapping
harmful components.
like
and if you're
just for a very long time.
By all means, do it.
They wouldn't let us do that, would they?
Yeah, he's been talking for like what feels like 10 minutes fucking straight without being interrupted.
I know. It's fucking unreal.
Doesn't work for many of my patients, and so from a medical point of view,
By the way, what the fuck was this guy even doing here? Like he's only like I recall him only making one sentence. Why was he even there?
From just a health and nutrition point of view, I think that it is important to include meat in the diet and to try to eliminate out plants for some people because they can be toxic to those people, even on a very well-controlled vegan diet.
Something off topic, Anthony. What do you bench press?
I do like 1 rep max.
What's that?
Like one is like I don't just go for like a maximum.
What do you do for reps?
Trying to body weight. Well, I do body weight stuff. I don't. I've only sort of just got back into the gym recently, so I think that's the. I think that well, it's not really fair. The professional athlete, so it's a teenager.
Would have been good to have Richard on. I think he does like 200 kilos for reps. He's a monster. He's a fucking monster.
What are you benching?
I don't know if I got that right.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's not 200 kilos for reps. I'm going for a 400 pound or 405 pound 1 rep max. So I think that's, let me see, in kilos. That would be 182 kilos. But yeah.
Yeah, close enough. Whatever.
Yeah, pretty close.
Otherwise, I want to be able to ask later.
Yeah.
I
don't. But I over rep probably. Well, I haven't really been in the gym very recently, but
just give me that. What do you rep? Just trying to last time.
Dude, he is scared of admitting how much he can bench. he must.
It's like it doesn't even matter anyway.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to answer this.
Yeah.
I did 315 pounds. What is that kilos? It's 320s on the side, right? So that's like 140, something like that. So I've got that like 6 times, something like that.
That's very good.
Okay, I can smoke him. I've done 315 for sets of 9, and I've done 350 for sets of 5. So I'm a lot fucking stronger than he is. But I'm nutrient deficient, and I'm not getting enough carnitine.
Yeah.
If you guys had one thing you could say to Dr. Anthony and Dr. Sanjeev
And what would it be? Like a message that they get you, like you guys both just connect and you get it. Like what would it be?
I'm gonna give it to Tash, who's good at this kind of stuff.
Flames.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, it just seems like you are misinformed in terms of like the death count versus eating a plant-based diet and eating an animal-based diet. And it sounds like you want to do the right thing, but and I truly believe that your morals do align with veganism, because I have no doubt that you would say that you're against animal abuse, and you admitted that murdering animals is a horrible thing. And I think you just need to realise that it's completely unnecessary if you want to, stop being a part of animal abuse and murder. Veganism is a moral obligation in my eyes, because trillions and trillions of non-human animals are brutally murdered every year for human food consumption, and that extends beyond farmed animals and obviously all the ocean animals that are murdered, for seafood. It extends to wild animals as well, because animal agriculture is the leading cause of species extinction. Ocean dead zones, pollution, and so many atrocities that are happening to this planet. It is a complete rights violation. And in 2024, I truly believe that every human on this planet can live on a plant-based diet, and I believe they can thrive. And I know that you don't agree with that, but even if we couldn't thrive, I still believe that veganism is a moral obligation, because we can live healthily without eating animals. I've been vegan for 7 years now, and I've never felt better in myself, and I know that there are millions of vegans out there that agree with me, and the leading dietetic and nutrition associations confirm that too. The science does show that.
Would you sit on the same table as Anthony and share a meal with him if he was eating a steak and you were eating?
Absolutely not. I will not sit down with a dead murder victim in front of me.
Wouldn't sit down with someone in front of somebody.
I thought I
eating a
closed on a
human
very positive sense, and then it's just kind of going haywire.
Would you sit down in front of somebody eating a human body?
Depends on the situation.
No, would you comfortably?
What?
If I'm on an island and we're both naked,
Just like
that,
at
I do it.
But at a restaurant.
That's a pretty wild restaurant, man. Like,
Yeah, but would you?
Yeah, I probably would.
You would.
I probably would.
So you condone eating humans?
No, I'd watch them.
You'd watch
I wouldn't eat it.
No,
I'd
you'd
watch
be
it.
happy to participate.
I'd be curious. I'd be the same camera setup I have, and I'd be questioning them with the same.
Sure, I would be curious.
I'd be like,
too.
what makes you want to eat this human being?
That's exactly our position when
That is
do that
fucking weird.
certain areas as well, right? There's still cannibalism.
Well, Papua New Guinea next, huh?
I'm actually I know Papua New Guinea.
You go to Papua New Guinea?
Absolutely, yeah.
When is this?
Oh, it's not set up yet, but there's a vital research trip there.
The tribes in Papua New Guinea are degenerate backwoods fucking whack jobs. They practice genital mutilation, cannibalism, they fucking murder each other. They also rape children. They're beyond fucked. I don't know why you'd want to go there. Hopefully he gets killed and eaten like that Rothschild kid.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's what you guys thrive. Wait, so we're gonna ask Jack and Tash, what do you guys do to thrive? What are the main things a vegan has to do to thrive and be optimal, in your opinion, and obviously your personal experience?
No, just like the basic stuff, man. Like, make sure you're getting adequate nutrition, which we are. We can do the blood works and all that kind of
Substance that you take, that you have to take.
Yeah, so B12 would be the only main one that we take.
That's it.
Yeah.
Will you take carnitine after listening to it?
No, because I don't need it.
They clearly, I mean, they deal with a lot of problems.
But then, yeah, exercise, sleep well, meditation's pretty awesome, and hang around good people. That's what we do to be healthy and happy.
Great,
You only
amazing.
take, you only take B12 supplements.
Yeah, maybe a D3 in winter if needed. Other than that, nothing else is really essential.
No, vitamin K2.
Sorry?
Vitamin K2.
No.
Zinc.
No, don't need it. Yeah, I'll put it that way.
Right, guys, thank you so much for coming on.
All right. Well, you didn't do too bad. I would have just said, like, again, just be careful with some of the arguments you're making, because, like, Anthony Chafee was able to divert away from what you wanted to argue from, just because the premises for some of your arguments he could just disagree with. And you should have just, like, led the conversation and not let them interrupt and just force the name the trait, argument. But Chafee is a dishonest fucking moron. Like, it's hilarious how uncomfortable he is answering certain questions, like, how much do you bench?
Yeah.
And the guy was even laughing, like, just answer the fucking question.
Look, I think watching it back, it's not as bad as I thought. I honestly was kicking myself. I obsess over, like, small issues or small problems in any of my type of content. This was totally out of my control, so it's not like if I'm not happy with it, I still can't. I'm not the one pressing upload, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think I was way too hard on myself. I think this was my first debate that I've ever led myself. I've always, Tash has always been the leader in a debate or in one of these types of situations. I think, you're right. I just needed to really get into Name the Trait and hold it there and don't let the host take over, because, it's obviously different once you're there in the situation. You just kind of, you're trying to just work out the situation and where the conversation needs to go. But with hindsight and for future debates, I now know what I need to be doing. And there might be a round two. So
Yeah.
we'll see. And if we can get you on, that would be ideal.
Yeah. Always think about how you want the conversation to go and what you want answered, and try to, like, steer the conversation in that direction. Don't just go with, like, if somebody says this, then respond to that. And then they say this, respond to that. Just hold them onto, like, a one specific topic and get them to make an answer. Because especially somebody like Chafee is super slippery, and he'll just try to dodge like crazy.
Did you watch my debate with the Butcher?
No, I haven't watched that one yet. I'll probably watch that one.
Okay,
like,
I did that one I did it really, really well. I'll grant myself that. I stuck to Name the Trait for an hour, and this guy, it is so satisfying. It's very hard to watch because this guy is fucking a lunatic and a psychopath, but narcissist. But that one's a good one. I did it after this one, so I knew what to do.
All right, I'll be sure to watch that. I'll probably watch that tomorrow night.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, man.
Yeah,
Thanks
cool,
for
cool.
coming on. Talk to you later.
No worries, man.
All right,
Thanks
see ya.
for that. See ya.
Okay, let's get to the donos. Dodo Donatillers, have you heard of Havana Syndrome? 60 Minutes did a new episode on it released a day ago, and they found the first evidence who may be behind it. I would link you the full 60 Minutes episode, but 60 Minutes blocked in your country. Okay, even this is blocked. Let me see. 60 Minutes Havana Syndrome. I'll take a look. Yeah, somebody mentioned it to me tonight. I'm very skeptical that they're using an energy weapon. I think it's probably more likely just poisoning. But thanks for that donation, Dodo, especially knowing how the Russian Federation usually attacks people. They usually use poison. Dodo donated $2. Watch. Let me see.
When you're cold or overwhelmed by strong emotions, the tiny muscles attached to each hair under your skin quickly contract in an attempt to generate some heat. This, along with an adrenaline rush, makes your hair stand up and creates those little bumps on your skin, known as goosebumps. But have you ever wondered if these goosebumps serve any meaningful purpose? Well, they might seem like a simple bodily response with no practical use in our modern lives. However, this feature once helped our hairy ancestors stay warm and appear bigger to intimidate potential predators. When you're
Yes, I've known of that. Also, abortion freedom on the ballot in Florida. It will drive turnout for Democrats. Biden may actually win here. Sweet. Funniest possible outcome in November is Biden winning Florida and everyone going to sleep at 11 p.m. Yeah, really. That is funny, dude. I don't know why they're choosing this hill to die on. It's really politically stupid. It's pretty much suicide. Thanks for that donation, Dodo.
Benny, shut the fuck up and go back into your corner. I'm tired of your ass. Jack off in the corner while I talk to all these boys.
Okay. Hopefully Benny listens and he's a good boy. Thanks for the donation, Christy.
Enough debate, learn how to twerk.
I think you donated that to me twice. I will twerk on spherage.
Enough debate, learn to twerk.
Let me see.
Yeah, other party I look so. Da, other party I look so. How many girl them turn up and I look so? What you do to me? Selector. Bounce when I see the girl them bubble pan. If you love to see the girl them a bubble, put up your hand. You play a song, the girl star bus blank. Over the girl them time, play a song for them. Y'all live on.
Dude, I don't know how you do that.
Oh, we coming in from the front. Yo, wow.
Not bad. Yeah, especially for a white girl, pretty impressive. Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever be that good. Wait, somebody already sent me that link. Yeah, you sent me all these links already. Thanks for that donation, Grandam. Appreciate it. Yeah, Chafee is a fucking moron, dude.
A 5-year investigation by 60 Minutes suggests Russia may be responsible for the mysterious illness known as Havana Syndrome. U.S. intelligence says it has been reported by more than 1,500 federal officials since 2016. CBS News national security correspondent David Martin reports.
The Pentagon now confirms during last year's NATO summit in Lithuania, a senior Defense Department official reported suffering symptoms similar to the mysterious Havana Syndrome. Scott Pelley spoke about the incident with retired defense intelligence analyst Greg Edgreen on 60 Minutes.
It tells me that there are no barriers on what Moscow will do, on who they will attack, and that if we don't face this head on, the problem is going to get worse.
Edgreen believes symptoms of severe headaches, dizziness, and nausea are caused by Russian attacks using some form of directed energy device. But the latest assessment by the Director of National Intelligence draws a different conclusion.
That it's unlikely a foreign adversary is responsible for these anomalous health incidents.
60 Minutes learned this suspected Russian intelligence agent may be linked to an attack on an FBI agent who appeared in disguise.
And bam, inside my right ear, it was like a dentist drilling on steroids.
And this suspected agent to an attack on the wife of a Justice Department official in the country of Georgia.
I am completely consumed by a piercing sound.
Officials also confirmed Vice President Harris's 2021 arrival in Vietnam was delayed because of multiple reports of possible symptoms among members of her Defense Department advance party.
And David joins us now from the Pentagon. David, you reported that comment from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Very unlikely that it was a foreign adversary. Why do they say that? Very unlikely. Sounds pretty hard, no.
Well, for one, they just haven't been able, as a matter of pure detective work, to pin any of these cases directly on a Russian operative. Two, they have no intelligence that Russia or any other country has actually developed some kind of directed energy device that is capable.
John donated to Lars, would you say she's thick or just fat? Let me see. She just holds her weight a lot in her midsection, like around her thighs and butt. So, I don't know. Fat is fat to some people, thick is thick to some people. She just clearly holds a lot of excess body weight around her thighs and butt. You know. Thanks for the donation, though, John.
Of producing.
Yeah, if Russia had some sort of energy weapon, we would have known about it by now, especially with how leaky Russia's been lately.
These symptoms that are associated with Havana syndrome. And third, investigators can always find a more natural explanation, just a pre-existing condition, something in your environment, something in the air conditioning system, for instance, or just plain stress. And that, of course, is just infuriating to the victims of Havana syndrome, because they, of course, know in their hearts that they've been attacked by something.
David, if this were linked to Russia by the U.S. government and they said so out loud, give us a sense of what this is an attack on Americans. In other words, would that create such a situation that the U.S. would be forced to respond, and it would create a kind of escalation?
Well, I think that's one of the problems here, and why the standard of proof is high here, because once you publicly level the charge against Russia, the next obvious question is, okay, what are we going to do about it? Espionage is often called the game of dirty tricks. And each side, cheats, lies, steals, harasses, blackmails, whatever it takes to find out what the other side is up to. But one of the unwritten rules is thou shall not kill.
Supposedly got sick with a mysterious illness, including dizziness, nausea, extreme ear pain, and headaches. That was dubbed Havana syndrome. Well, last night on 60 Minutes, a military investigator spoke out and said that Russia's GRU Unit 29155 may be behind the neurological symptoms. The 5-year investigation by CBS, The Insider, and the German publication Der Spiegel also stated that there were, quote, likely attacks 2 years earlier in Frankfurt, Germany, when a U.S. government employee was knocked unconscious by what was supposedly described as a strong energy beam. That victim was later diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury.
A lawyer who represents more than 24 clients from CIA, FBI, and state who have symptoms akin to Havana syndrome came on the TV show and